This is S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S4, where we talk about the serious issues involving paranormal and current events. Coming to you live from the S4 headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. So tonight's Roundtable number 3 out of 4. So hold on to your seats, folks, and enjoy the ride. So, Cole, tell us about the art contest.
Give me 1 second. I got about 3 things going here, so.
Yeah, not to mention, folks, it is 90-something odd degrees sitting here in the studio. We got fans going, but it doesn't really help.
No.
But, yeah, and we have red flag warnings for fire, and, it's great fun in 2020. We love 2020. 2020 has been such an awesome year, I gotta tell you. So, tonight with us, we have Barry Gount from the Kentucky MUFON. And into the fire, we have Francie Miller, our S4 psych therapist, and we have Joe Algier, our geologist and master of pointy sticks, and of course, Markham. It's been a pleasure to have Markham, our S4 scientist, here with us ever since he got moved to Seattle. How's Seattle doing?
Yay!
You still there?
I get in and I get out.
Oh my God, I hear you.
Yeah. I'm living in Bellevue now, and it's like night and day. You know, Seattle's kind of filthy and run down looking where I've seen.
There's a documentary on that called Seattle is Dying.
And Bellevue is just a beautiful city. Much better living conditions.
Right? Oh, so we
do have an issue, guys, with the chat room. I know we're live, but for some reason, the chat room is not working. As a backup, if you go to www.s-4radio.com, we do have a chat room on the main page. Just go right below the embedded player, and you'll see a chat room there, and you can type your messages in there.
Which is weird because it's showing up as one message.
Who from who? Well, so I posted one. I've got one on Kayla's, and I've got one through you on the main thing.
Oh, do you still? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I think Spreaker is on strike because of the heat.
I don't know.
There was an update available, but it was too late for me to grab it.
Oh, that's probably what it is.
Yes.
I didn't update.
There's always an update available. I can update everything on my phone, and within 10 minutes, it's saying you have a new update available.
Right.
Okay. Well, on with the show. It's okay. We don't have to have a chat room. Go to the website and jump into the chat room there for all of our listeners. www.s-4radio.com. Check out the store while you're there too, and get Cole's apron.
I did get Cole's apron. It's
did you?
Awesome.
Oh my God!
Rock on.
So yeah, go to the website. We have a chat room there, and we can just move everybody over to the website chat room.
Also, remember, between August 1st and September 30th, we will be accepting your 2D artwork, any paranormal artwork, which we will be then be featuring in the month of October on Facebook, Twitter, and our own webpage.
I don't think that's the right one.
Us hosts will then pick one to win an S4 swag bag at $75. So All 2D mediums are accepted. Must be 18 to enter. All artwork must be PG. No nudity, please. Entries should be submitted to s4radiowinner@gmail.com. s4radiowinner@gmail.com. Guys, we know a lot of you are really good at drawing. A lot of you are really good at art. Please send us something that we can show off for you. If you don't want your name mentioned, put that in the email and we will keep it anonymous. Okay?
Excellent. Joe, what's your first question tonight?
Oh, me. Okay. Okay, here you go. There's a huge debate, and I don't know why, about whether we went to the moon or not. And I want to know what each one of you guys think. What do we know about the moon? Have we gone there? And are there aliens and cryptids on the moon?
Oh.
Yeah.
Good question.
Wow.
I think we went.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so do I.
And
I
I think it's inhabited already. Both
That's why we quit
underground
going.
and the backside.
We should start a podcast.
I agree with you, and you know, we've said this on the show before, but Neil Armstrong kind of alluded to that in his transmission that got cut off really quick, that wasn't supposed to be heard, and that he said, "We are not alone; they're watching us."
They're on the rim of the crater, and they're watching us.
Yeah,
Yep,
absolutely.
Exactly what they said.
So I do think we, you know, I've always kind of walked the line on that because here's why. One, if you look at his in the pictures, if you look at his helmet, it actually looks like a reflection of a studio, and that's where a lot of the skeptics say, "Oh, we never went."
Yeah.
Not to mention, if you look at the flag, if I remember right, the flag was flopping in the breeze. There's not going to be a breeze on the moon necessarily. So I can understand where the skeptics come from, but I do think we went to the moon. I do think it's inhabited, and has been inhabited and still is. But why couldn't they come up with an agreement? Why can't they have come up with some kind of arrangement? You know, between in the last 50 some odd years, and that's kind of where I stand. What do you think, Joe?
Oh, I think we definitely went. And I think when we got there was somebody watching. I don't know if they're the original inhabitants or if the people that were there were just visiting like us. But
Very
yeah,
true.
a lot of the conspiracy theories about, we can't get there because of the radiation, and like the flag moving, well, it was on a little pole that was waving, and
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. I don't see them being able to pull that off, saying that we went. I mean, the Russians would have been jumping up and down and saying, "No, you didn't."
Well, that's the other thing. So that's another conspiracy with that. I hate conspiracies because so many
I love conspiracies.
Oh yeah, but so many of them are so full of
They
shit.
do.
But here's the deal: Cold War, according to one theory, is that the Cold War never really happened. It happened in the public perception, but we were always working with the Russians. There was no space race. We were working with the Russians to get there.
I don't know about that.
I'm not so sure.
If we were working with him, don't you think they would have done something stupid like saying we're taking a Russian with us this time on, like, say, Apollo 16 or something? One of them is going to be a Russian in cooperation and yada, yada, yada. The Russians would just go along with them looking stupid and losing.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. I don't know what their motivation would have been. I really don't know the gains. What the gains would have been, if you know what I mean.
Right.
We possibly had a photo of Brezhnev with a goat, and he had to do whatever we said.
Right?
Well, what do you guys think? There's also one out there about the moon being a hollow space station.
Rings like a bell.
I do
Yeah.
believe it's hollow.
Right.
I do too.
With
No,
that, I do believe.
I've heard this for so many years, and I truly believe we did go. The flag was a rigid, more like flag that was put up there, and it looked like it was a waving flag.
Yeah, it was on a frame.
Right, exactly. And we do know that there was transmissions and there was those things that there. The thing that I worry about the most is that, and I know that there has been so much doctoring of photos from the moon where they actually doctored out. Carolyn Roslin had mentioned it several times back in the early 2000 about how NASA was doctoring photos, and it's and I got a hold of some stuff that I probably shouldn't have got a hold of, and I had a video and some of these undone pictures, and they were NASA quality and then NASA photos because they had the markings on them, but which were very interesting. But I surely wouldn't do a darn thing with them because out of just pure fear.
Right.
And then I wonder myself, what the hell did the government do to the astronauts' minds? Because they shut up so much. And I was just, last week, I got a video of Buzz Aldrin and a little girl. I don't know if anybody has seen that video. And Buzz Aldrin, the little girl's talking about the moon, and did we go to the moon and everything else? And he said, I don't know, we had never been there. To a little girl, and I know Buzz has had some problems since going to Antarctica and some other things. Armstrong never talked at all. I don't know what they did to that poor man. I think he came back and he was just shocked and in terror from what he saw up there.
Well, what about Edgar Mitchell?
Edgar Mitchell, same thing.
He's like, I don't remember. The
right,
dude was
exactly.
Yes, they wiped his mind. They had to.
Yeah, exactly. And yet, but Buzz and Edgar Mitchell both talk about this thing that's on a planet, is on a moon of Mars that's a monolith. And wait till you see the monolith if you think that's cool, and
yeah, I think it's on photos.
So some of the stuff that they've come up with, we actually bombed the moon looking for water, which was, I think it was a bull crap thing.
I think that was a cover story.
I think it was a cover story too. I think they definitely
we blew up an alien base.
I think I actually do too. I think that that was the purpose of it. I have dealt with abductees and so forth that have said that they have been to the moon. I think I mentioned on the show a few weeks ago, I had an abductee that drew a moon base that he saw, and then I about crapped myself when I saw the China's dark side of the moon photo of this base, because this guy drew this base before China got up there, and it was almost identical to that picture.
Well, Ingo Swan said he was doing a remote viewing and almost got captured when he remote viewed the backside of the moon.
Right.
There was an alien presence there that did not want him being there and did not want him talking about it afterwards.
And that's the same thing they allude to in the movie Transformers. They did the whole Dark of the Moon movie. You think that's where they got their information? Some of it?
You know what? Slow disclosure, and all the stuff that's out there, all these movies have something into them, and it's truly amazing when you look at it, and we all know it. We've all seen the movies that come out, and you look at it and you go, wow. And then we're talking about the same thing today in movies. There's stuff that's happened. We see it every day in our lives, and if you go back in certain movies, you'll see it, Deja Vu talked about going back for a certain period of time, where they could go back and relive almost a time travel thing. And some of the stuff that they were showing on TV never was even, during the movie, with the computer equipment and some of the stuff they were using. And then 2 years later, you're watching NCIS on TV, and you see it every night. You know, it's like, going, whoa, what's that? I mean, I saw that in that movie. You mean that's real?
Hey,
And,
The Simpsons has got it down.
Yeah,
yes, the same thing. I mean, the Simpsons. I mean, golly, look what they predicted. You know, and it's really crazy. I mean, when you really sit down and look at it, and if you open your mind to it, there's a lot of mystery that comes through those things. And I definitely think the moon. I'm not too sure about it being hollow. I heard it rings like a bell, but it depends on if you're sitting on top of a base, I guess. I mean, there's probably areas that doesn't, and there's areas that it does. You know?
Well, that's what's interesting. We dropped the lunar module, I think it was, on the moon, and it rang like a bell. And that's exactly how they described it.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, so you know
Isn't
how...
it weird, though? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know how, like, geodes are hollow? Okay? So they're
Yeah,
like...
right.
So could it naturally be, like, a giant geode?
No, that's what. Wait,
Possible.
that's where the cheese is.
It's in the center
It's
of
in the center of it. Yeah, you know.
hot lava cheese.
Yeah, hot lava cheese.
There we go.
We can go drilling for cheese now.
Spicy nachos.
We have a cheese shortage here. We can go up to the moon to get it. So I'm going to turn this over to Kayla for a second because I didn't hear it. I know you were talking about the other day about we landed on a meteor, and I think of Armageddon, the movie. But didn't you say we landed on a meteor and we're taking samples off it or some crap?
Yeah, it was in the Geology Today, like one of those journals. Because, I read some super obscure stuff.
Well, we have to.
And that was actually out of Switzerland. That they had said that they had landed a non-manned craft on a meteor and had taken some samples of it and were analyzing the samples to see what it contained. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about that satellite, or what they thought was coming to Earth, that long...
Oumuamua.
Yeah, Oumuamua. That's what it was called. Yeah, Oumuamua. And it appears, and all of a sudden it disappears, right?
Uh-huh.
It changed direction and accelerated.
It just
Exactly.
moved. It
Exactly.
moved.
So like, was it a craft? What does that? What does it? And then, I don't know
it
if
just
you
got
were
caught
watching,
in the Higgs field.
Well, that could have been
we're going to have a show
gravitational.
sometime when we're going to talk about Antarctica. But did you see the thing that landed in Antarctica? It slid like 3.5 miles and has the same shape as a Oumuamua.
Huh.
I think I saw something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that is, they were showing that, and I picked it up on I forget, there was a science channel or something I was watching it.
If Oumuamua was as big as they said it was, if that had landed in Antarctica, we would all know about it.
Yeah.
Okay, this would be like dinosaur world ending. Oh my God, we're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Stuff
but if
happening.
it landed
Soft
on
landed.
its belly and slid,
If it was controlled,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it was controlled and it landed and it slid across the ice for however long it went, it wouldn't have made anything. We would have never known it.
It was just the great old ones coming back home.
Yeah.
Right.
There.
They're checking out their place. They're like, oh shit!
So what do you
not the year.
what do you think of Moa? Do you think that was an alien craft, or do you think that was a meteor?
I think it was a probe, like Star Trek 4, Star Trek 4 Voyage Home.
Just a probe coming in.
Beager.
Like, turn around and leave. There's no intelligent life here.
I
could buy the probe deal. I mean, but it was definitely controlled by someone somewhere else, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So do you think that's what started the Pentagon into all of a sudden their interest in alien investigation?
Oh, they've always been interested
I know.
in alien investigation.
Absolutely.
That started
Oh,
the
wait a minute. You're going to get into my question. That's not...
What is your question there, Barry?
Yeah, go ahead and ask your question. You'll be
My question is, because witnesses and families and friends that have UFO-based encounters and everything can have deeply changing things, and especially if the military, intelligence, the government gets involved in all those agencies. So, if you take that and we go to the degree of saying,
A-tip.
what happens on the, why does the government, in certain cases, they don't care about it, all right? They don't bother families. And then on other cases, they torture them. I mean, there are people that are continually harassed by the government, that have been abductees and everything else. And why do you think that is?
Honestly, my reasoning for thinking that is, what race abducted you and what did they tell you? Okay, so if you're abducted by, let's say, a gray, which they might know a ton about, and they already know the reasonings for abductings and different things like that, or if you're abducted by some obscure alien race that they've never heard of, they're going to want the information from that. They're going to want to know everything.
You just took my answer.
Oh.
Well, I mean, they just seem to torture the people. I mean, it just continues and it continues, and these people have terrible experiences from what I believe is my life, and they don't remember the good ones anymore.
Yeah, but think about our original interrogation tactics. Like back in the day when we first started interrogating people.
The stretching table.
Exactly. We had all kinds of horrible crap happen. Well,
and
this would be our beginning of trying to figure out something about alien life. Well, we're going to have just as many flaws in the beginning as we had with every other type of torture.
And that's what's stupid, is it's scientifically proven. Torture doesn't work. You get tortured. I had to do a paper
You're going
on
to say
this.
anything.
Yeah. I had to do a paper on torture tactics and how they were ineffective in Iraq, for example. And it's been proven over and over again. You're being tortured. You're going to tell them whatever the hell they want to hear. It's every once in a rare while they'll get a fluke that, okay, little Joey's been abducted. You know where he's at. We torture you until you tell us where little Joey is, and sometimes that does work. Waterboarding works in some of those cases, but 90% of the time, no. They're going to tell you what the hell you want to hear. It doesn't work.
Yes, but do alien races know that? And if alien races are the ones that are working with these government agencies, well, they're going to do a torture tactic to try to get information.
I can guarantee you it's the CIA half the time and the NSA that's working with these alien races.
Oh, well, think about what they used to do to people when they thought that their mind was gone. They took them, they put them in an institution and did horrible things to them to try to figure out what makes you tick.
Well,
could it possibly be the difference between these families, some getting tortured and some not? Maybe the ones that aren't getting tortured, they went through a process, they don't remember it, but it was successful.
Right.
They were able to forget the thing, they were able to get the information, and they say, okay, good, we're done with this one, it worked. And then they have other groups where the people are just stubborn and they're not going to forget it, they're not going to give up the information, and they just got to keep working on them, and that's where all the torture comes in.
Right.
Well,
and the harassment.
Well, I kind of agree with that, because when I look at it, I kind of look at it, and I kind of believe that there's a war going on out here. There's the conscious mind beings that want to talk about consciousness and so forth, and raise everything out, and there's the ones that are strictly that the military has been dealing with forever. We're going to give you technology. We're going to help you out. Da 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 da. And they don't want these others even being here. They're like in a war off planet somewhere anyway. And when they show up, it's like going, no, we don't want that. And then it's a totally different type of abduction compared to the abduction that these other people may have. And I think that they are like going, when people have this, we just don't buy the programs anymore. They don't buy what's, why doesn't it work?
Okay, but
why
if
doesn't
you,
our tactics work on these people? And they torture the crap out of them trying to figure out what they've done to them.
well, if you think about it that way, though, too, like, think about humans. Some of them can be hypnotized, others can't be. Right? It's a fact. You got a group of people that can, you got a group of people that can't, and you got the ones that are in between that kind of get half, but not really. Well, maybe it's the same abduction that's happening to all of them. It's just power of persuasion, whether or not they remember all of the horrible crap that happened afterwards.
Could be.
So
I don't know, but I just don't understand why the government is involved in and so interested in certain cases and not in others. That's where it bothers me.
I think what
you
I find...
you hear this thing about the alien threat all the time, and it seems like the ones that are the ones that they're dealing with would be the alien threat in my book, and the other ones are more along the lines of opening up communication at a totally different level, because you hear them talk about the different books or the different Bibles, the alien Bibles, the yellow, the blue, the red, you know.
Okay,
well,
put it this
Isn't it like mind control, though? I mean, isn't it the government's interest in controlling the population?
I think they did that, and they succeeded to an extent with MK Ultra, but they progressed it, because I mean MK Ultra gave us weaponry today. To be honest with you,
so like that was the foot in the door,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, think about our government. Our government goes with money. Our government goes with fossil fuels, different things like this. So let's say that this alien race picked up a whole bunch of people and told them the secret of renewable power. Would our government or any government want that out there and not making their profit off of it? Exactly.
Right.
So maybe they're interested in them because they got a tidbit of information.
No, it depends on the country, because India, for example, is all about renewable resources. India, for example, is all about getting everybody on solar panels. They started that. So it depends on the country you're talking about. America, hell no. They're all about their oil and their fossil fuels.
Right. So if you abducted like 10 people and told them how to do it exactly, well, those people are going to be tortured because
America's
they're going to tell them, hell no.
Only if they're Americans.
Right.
Well, but again, it does depend on the country, because you don't want to take Middle East, the same thing. Middle East is all about the oil. Europe, I would say, is all about the oil. Our allies are all about the oil. So I do think it depends on the country you're talking about. The poorer countries, they're going to like Africa. They're going to be about more renewable resources because that's what they can live off of.
Right.
But at the same time, I always look at it and say, well, they already have that. I look at our government and say they've had some of these weapons that they've talked about forever. They've had all this stuff back, and they're the ones that are using it. They're the ones that are benefiting from it. And we're the ones that are suffering and paying their way to keep their other people in their high and mighty positions with their wallets full.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's...
And it's not even really a political thing. We all know the corporations run the government.
Right.
And if the corporations are going to lose money because of renewable resources, then the government's going to play along because all they are puppets anyway.
Right, and it's not just corporations; it's families and everything. Like look at the Rothschilds. Look at there's so many of them out there that are what are actually running the world. We just don't see it.
And it makes you wonder: are the Rothschilds actually aliens?
I don't know. They got funny shaped heads.
That's inbreeding.
They look like Mr. Burns.
Even go back to the 40s, when Weyerhaeuser and the Hearst Company were, big paper, big lumber, all that stuff. And what did they lobby against the most? Hemp. Because what? Hemp is a renewable source.
And it
that
grows
you
so
can
much
make
faster.
Paper out.
Yeah.
Everything. It's renewable. Grows every damn year. You can cut the heck out of it. You can make 100,000 things out of it.
And it's a lot
You
stronger.
can make fossil fuel out of it.
Yep.
And then what do? They say, oh no, we're not going to grow that here because that would be one of our major exports.
What did they call that? They said that it was an invasive species for certain areas.
Well, and don't you think that's why they don't want Bigfoot exposed? Or Dogman?
I'm pretty sure that's why they don't want
cryptids?
pretty much everything exposed.
Or spotted owl?
Right.
I mean, just the spotted owl alone shut down the logging industry in Oregon. Can you imagine what Bigfoot would do?
Right. Oh, yeah. Same thing. Oh, we don't want people to know that. It'd be just protect the Bigfoot, protect his area.
Yeah.
And
Bigfoot lives matter.
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But that's where, I mean, logically you need to go there. I mean, and it's just one of those things. I think that it's out there, it's happening, and we all need to wake up because, man, they're killing us.
Yeah, it's not even done yet. 2020's not done with us yet.
Oh, stop it. Just stop it right now.
Let alone 2021. Do you think 2021 is going to be any better? I really don't. I think it's just beginning.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? That was what I was living for. That was my hope for the future.
2021, right?
You mentioned 2021. You do realize that Mad Max took place in 2021, the original movie.
Oh, good God. Really? I didn't think it was going to go that bad.
Oh, man.
I'm waiting for it.
You might be right. You might be absolutely right.
Well, I don't know. I don't see everybody, like, all of a sudden getting a crappy accent and running around in a motorcycle gang.
Yeah, but they're already talking about a meteor.
Yeah.
They've been talking about a meteor for how long?
All right, I'm going to Thunderdome. Let's do this.
Hey, what
are you talking about? We are Thunderdome.
Yeah. Just look at, we're talking about the weather over there. Look at the weird things that are going on. We've had more hurricanes this year. 2020 has been like, wow.
Yeah, I think we're on our 12th named storm now.
Yeah, more named storms than anything else. You guys are having... Joe's talked about weird lightning out in...
Oh, no, man. Fire tornadoes.
Yeah, we got fire tornadoes and lightning that no one's ever seen.
Fire tornadoes, boomerang earthquakes. Come on.
Hey, you know what? No, we don't want sharknadoes. Huh?
Yes, we do.
You want to eat a shark?
Huh?
Oh, we can go fishing.
Totally.
Fishing in the NATO?
Hell yeah.
Oh, my God.
Wait, but we don't have our army trucks yet.
Yeah, you guys have fun. I'm going to stay home that fishing trip.
We need a striker.
Can you imagine if the American people found out the truth? I mean, that's why it's all... I mean, there would be an uprising and we'd be barbecuing people on a steak,
We're already doing that just
what's
about.
New?
Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's new? This is happening.
Yeah, have you been to Walmart lately?
Oh, geez, no.
That's one place I stay away from. The energy there is so freaky that I can't even go into a Walmart.
I agree.
Oh my God, you want to find alien life? Head to your local Walmart. No joke.
We went there the other day and I was amazed at how empty the shelves were. Seriously.
Everybody's preparing.
They're empty everywhere. I mean, look at the products that are coming out. Because of all this stuff, what's happening? You're seeing menus cut back on major places. You're seeing Coca-Cola taking half of their stuff away that they put all this other stuff. Well, let's not do it too good, so let's take it away.
We have a Dr. Pepper shortage, man.
No, yeah. That's what's weird, too, is we have an aluminum shortage. So they're not making Dr. Pepper in aluminum cans now.
Right.
That's not why.
Nope, it was the actual Dr. Pepper company.
They closed
half of their factories and production.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Due to COVID, they didn't figure
Maybe
they
they should go back to glass bottles for all the sodas because they're probably going to find out 50 years from now that the aluminum cans made everybody insane.
Yeah.
I would be completely okay with glass bottles.
I like a glass bottle.
Yep. I'd be
Give me
completely
the
okay.
6-ounce Cokes, man. Those are the best tasting Cokes. Now I'm showing my age. Jeez. Wow.
I have a half a case of those still in the bedroom.
Do you?
Yeah.
We buy the Mexican Cokes from Walmart. No, Costco.
Well,
Costco.
I switched from hot coffee today to iced coffee, so I'm still good.
Oh, hey. There's nothing better than iced coffee on a 99-degree day. Or 100
Absolutely. And you know, it's funny because you guys know, and some of our listeners know that we do run a community group, the Concrete and Upriver group. And it was funny because someone, we're all complaining about the heat. I won't deny that. But this doesn't touch Iraq. 140 degrees
Oh my God.
in Iraq. But
I'm good.
I drink coffee all day long. I drink so much coffee, I stayed hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I do think that's why I get migraines in the heat today. I think it weakened my system enough to where, my body just can't handle intense heat anymore. Because I go outside and I work for 10, 15 minutes, hydrated or not, I will get a migraine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it didn't do me any favors, but 140 degrees. I think once it gets past 120, you really don't notice anything higher.
Well, the same thing with cold, though. Because I could tell you that when I was in Alberta, minus 20 and minus 40, they're both just so cold you can't handle it. There is no big difference there. Like, I walk outside, I'm freezing.
That's why, once it hits a certain temperature, I just don't think it really matters how much more it gets.
Well, technically it would once it reaches a specific temperature, because
then
then
you're
your
free.
blood is going to boil.
Yeah.
But,
Right. Absolutely. And so, for our local listeners, we will be doing a winter preparedness show in October. And if I can swing it, we will have an emergency fair in October. It'll be set up, COVID
restrictions and stuff.
COVID days. It's going to be, a booth. You wear your mask, you go visit
Come get
the
your
booth.
COVID.
Huh?
No. God dang it.
Giving out tornadoes?
We'll talk about earthquakes.
Earthquakes.
And we'll talk
We
about
can give out
volcanoes.
earthquakes.
Yeah, we're going to give out earthquakes.
Big booms.
Yeah,
Bloody
big
sticks.
booms.
Oh, God. Okay.
Oh, anyway. Okay, Francie, what's your first question tonight?
Okay. So remember last week we were talking about attachments and mental illness and all of that kind of stuff. So I ran across 2 articles in Psychology Today. Now, Psychology Today is not a journal. It's not a research journal. It's
Right.
Pop Psychology. But these 2 articles were about Ted Bundy
Ooh.
and attachments.
Okay.
So and I can't share the links because I couldn't figure out the chat room stuff and all that. But if you search Ted Bundy's Demon Psychology Today, you'll find the 2 articles.
Okay.
So here's what I learned from these 2 things. Ted Bundy described an entity that emerged from him whenever he was tense or drunk. And there was a defense investigator named Joe Alloy who got a clear view of this entity during an interview. While they were talking, he suddenly noticed an odor coming from Ted Bundy, and his face and body contorted and changed. Now remember, like last week I was talking about the person with multiple personality symptoms and disorder, and how her scars changed. Like she had a scar with one personality, but she didn't with another.
Right.
And so this defense investigator said that he felt a negative electricity And along with that came a smell that emanated from Bundy. And he became immediately terrified during the interview that Bundy was going to kill him. He felt that he was in great danger.
I'm going to say that's possession, though. That's not that goes beyond what an attachment will be.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the difference between attachment and possession?
Possession is generally, and I'll say it, possession is generally demonic. There's not too much else that will actually want to possess a human.
Okay, I would say that my big difference between an attachment and a possession is a possession is the taking over of your functions of your body, where an attachment is feeding off of your energies.
There you go. I was trying to think.
Okay.
I was trying to think of the easiest way to explain that. But yeah, absolutely. And attachments generally aren't going to jump off somebody to jump onto somebody else.
No.
Possessions will.
So, Rosemary Ellen Guiley wrote about Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
And she said, quote, "The entity that Ted Bundy described as having an influence on his murderous behavior could very well have been a jinn. Contortions of the face and body and unpleasant odor and negative electricity, all of these would be consistent with jinn possession."
No. I would disagree with that. Jinn aren't that common.
No.
I would stick with demon.
I
think people like to stretch things too far.
To be perfectly honest, Ted Bundy was an evil ass dude. Okay.
Well, so evil attracts evil.
When you have that kind of energy, you're gonna pull in that kind of energy. Like it's just the way that works.
Absolutely. And too many people, well, the demon made me do it. No, actually, you were an evil ass before the demon came. And wasn't Bundy occultic as well?
He probably, honestly, opened up the doorway for the demon to come in.
That's right. That's where I'm going with that. It'd be easy enough for someone that's already evil to dabble into the occult and conjure up a demon. That isn't much of a stretch.
No.
And
other serial killers.
But I want to clarify. Occult in and of itself is not evil. I want to clarify that.
No.
Not everybody is in the occult.
Not all of them at all.
Hell no.
So I would say that would be almost like a demon. They're few and far between that are actually evil and purposefully evil.
Even Satanists will tell you, even most Satanists won't even go as far as to conjure a demon, because even they know you don't mess with that shit.
Right.
Well, we did a show last night. I was on another show last night for about an hour. We were talking about Satanism and everything else. The thing about it is, though, the true people that are doing the weird stuff, they don't go out and broadcast it.
No,
they are not. No. I mean, and they're in a secret society. It is like very, but unfortunately, it's like becoming more and more. Yeah, I mean, it's becoming the norm.
It all comes.
They are just getting.
But it all comes. It all comes down to labels.
It does, and it also comes down to the fact that people watch stupid movies. Okay? Yeah. And the second that they do, they decide that's exactly what this is, without actually looking into any of it, and then they make their own little cult or their own little offshoot of whatever it is that they saw on TV, and now they believe that there's some demon conjuring evil thing.
And you're absolutely right, Barry. Most of them, if they are into deep occult, that is conjuring demons, they're not running around telling anybody.
Right, exactly. They're quiet. I mean, look at the stuff that's going on right now that we hear all the time about adrenochrome, walnut sauce. And it's like going, those people sure to hell ain't going to be out in the streets going, "Hey, look what I do."
No.
And
most Satanists that I've actually met, I compare them more to humanists. They're all about themselves, and they believe in the tenfold
exactly
law.
what they can affect and what they can affect now. Their
Right.
religion is a now religion. That is exactly what it is.
They believe, some of them believe in a deity named Satan. Yes, some of them.
Yes.
But you look at, I compare, I see a difference between anti-LaVeyists and Satanists. Anti-LaVey was all about humanism. He was all about the tenfold law. You do damage to me or my family, I will destroy you tenfold.
Yeah, basically eye for an eye, but a little bit further.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what the anti-LaVey is.
Okay, so back to serial killers.
Okay.
When we execute them, does their dark passenger, or whatever you want to call it,
the demon,
go, is it executed with them, or does it jump to somebody else like the movie Fallen?
Fallen.
No.
Oh, yes. Greatest movie in the world.
So no, they don't
love
jump.
that movie.
They don't just jump to somebody else. Somebody in the courtroom sitting there watching the execution. No, they're no.
Okay, so if it's a true demon possession, demons are not stupid. If they know that a dude is going to be executed at this date, on this time, at this hour, they're going to leave far before that happens.
Okay.
Well, some of the demons that are out there, and and some of the things that are out there in the world, they're, Rafe, all that. Their deal is to destroy and to kill, And if it's a Rafe, I believe a Rafe will transfer into somebody else. I mean, a Rafe is known to do that, and that's what I think the whole movie Fallen was based on, was a possession of a Rafe. And Rafe do move between other people. You touch them, they go from other places to other places. They will destroy and kill, and when they get ready, when the person kills, they jump.
Yes,
and
but
they go somewhere else.
Right, but the thing about that is, what I was trying to say in the first place is that they are not going to be contained within that cell. That's the issue, is that once the person actually gets caught, if it was because of a malevolent entity that they did it, then that's already jumping before they go down for the crime.
It's the same thing that they did in that movie. I mean, that's what they showed in the movie. I mean, he's there.
You had to be within a cubit.
Right, and all of a sudden it jumps, and it's in you, and it goes around and around and around. And the only way you can destroy it is to make sure that there is nothing for it to jump into when you die.
Well, and let me explain too. There are different classes of demons. Your lower classes are the ones that are causing most of your havoc. Your higher level demons, most of them really don't give two shits about humans. They don't. They don't mess with them.
That was what the whole war about angels and demons were about.
They
were all angels at one point.
They're sitting there trying to keep their own society together, not trying to...
Yeah. And the point is, most of your higher level demons, if they do attack a human, it's not so obvious. They're the ones that are going to cause depression. They don't kill you. You kill yourself, but they cause it.
And on your question there, Francie, about serial killers and entities and stuff, unfortunately, in the human race, there are just evil, sadistic freaking people. And not every single one of them is because of something else pushing them to do something. Most of them have some form of manipulated, screwed up mind in the first place that causes them to act out in that way.
Well, the insanity defense has never worked for a serial killer.
Yes, true.
Doesn't mean they can't try it.
They're going to. They're going to. All of them do.
I agree with her 100%. There are people that are... I think everybody's just too quick to jump on, well, Bundy was evil, he must have been possessed.
Right.
No, I just think he was just an evil guy because he was an evil guy.
Right.
And as far as the lawyer looking at him and all of a sudden sensing that Bundy, there was a smell coming from him, well, that could have been pheromones. That could have been pure animal instinct that Bundy
Very
was
true.
thinking of killing the guy, and he picked up on that and thought of it as a smell from a demon, where it could have just been natural pheromones.
Well, and it can
I
also
think
be...
Bundy was just evil.
An evil guy.
He was a rotten person.
And to look at it deeper, him seeing an entity could have been psychosomatic because he expected it.
And honestly, like, your pituitary gland, if you have issues with that, then you're gonna have some different stuff happening too. It's not...
So quiet, sit over
Well,
there.
here's the interesting way that Psychology Today ended this. Epilepsy,
Oh, hell
brain
no.
tumors.
Okay, no. Okay, I'm gonna cut that off right there because I'm gonna tell you, epilepsy and brain tumors do not make you evil. They can. Okay, there are certain things that can happen in your brain.
They
where
can change
wires
your
get
personality.
disconnected, different things like that.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
if you're a damn evil person, you're an evil person. And I actually have epilepsy and a disorder like that, and there's no way I'm going to go out and kill somebody and blame it on that. Not a chance.
Well, and that's just an example of how psychology and the science of psychology downplays the paranormal.
Right.
Yeah,
That was
I agree
something
with
I
that
wanted to bring
100%.
up.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Age of Enlightenment happened, we have found organic reasons for people to behave this way. But I think we threw the baby out with the bathwater in that just because there is an organic brain chemistry connection doesn't mean there wasn't a paranormal reason.
Right.
These things are geniuses beyond our ability to understand. They know how to use our brain chemistry. So could they be hiding behind mental disorders being diagnosed, but it's really these supernatural entities causing the disorder at the base of it?
And that's the hard part to differentiate. It really is.
Yes, exactly.
If it was a supernatural entity that was causing all this stuff, and like Eric said, they're geniuses, they know more than we do, don't you think that they would keep the person from getting caught in the first place?
No. Their purpose is to create misery and to,
havoc and just
and basically, that's their job description to, corrupt.
Yeah, I mean, how many of you guys have been to a closed or a haunted facility that held mental patients? Has anybody ever investigated those things? Man,
Yes.
let me tell you something. That's the trip of the trip. If you're a paranormal investigator, go to those kind of places, and you will go, oh my God. Because the things that are hanging out in those walls are a lot different than what you're going to find anywhere else. I mean, go to Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum and spend a week there and come out of there and you're going to go, whoa.
I just watched a show about that place 2 hours ago.
It's an awesome place, but man, I'll tell you what, there's some bizarre things going on there.
Well, we have Northern State here. You can't get into you can't get into where the actual facility was because it's owned by a corporation.
A corporation.
But you can get on. So back in the I can't remember how far back it goes, 1900s, I believe.
Yeah.
It was a dairy farm. They had a dairy farm. They actually raised their own food. They had their own well. They had their own dairy for milk for.
Did they have mad cows?
They had their own generative power system as well.
But I mean, the EVPs you can pull from there, the conversations you can actually have with some of the spirits there. It does get interesting.
We need to go back.
Yeah,
we will.
It's the same thing with Trans-Allegheny. It was a self-contained unit. They had a coal mine. They had their own water supply. It's an island, basically, surrounded by a little river. And let me tell you something. Everything that they did by themselves. They farmed. They did everything, and everything supplied that facility.
Well,
and it is a bizarre place to go. And if you're don't have your A game on, and you've never been in a place like that, it's a tough way to go.
well, and that's what we use for training. I'm not one for going to hot spots because it's already been proven haunted. So,
Yeah.
woohoo! But we do use it for a training site. We would take our new investigators there because they're going to catch a spirit, they're going to catch an orb, they're going to catch something, and we will be going back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting place. It's very historic. You can look it up, Northern State Mental Hospital, Seed Woolley, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Don't try and take your family there. It's closed. Okay.
That's not funny.
But we actually did
It is, though.
we did a
You
ghost
can't
walk
just drop
there
people off.
last year at the Paracon. That was where the ghost walk was.
Well, I think the Catholic Church sort of dropped the ball in that they tried for a while denying the existence of paranormal reasons. Oh, it's not possession. They're really just they've got a psychological problem.
Well, they had certain criteria they had to meet. I mean, you could watch the movie that's why I like about the movie The Conjuring. Yes, it's entertainment, but I love the way the Warrens actually did their investigation because that was old school investigation. There was no digital, equipment. No, they put flour on the floor to look for footprints. They put bells across the door to listen for, and they got it. They got that. I think the Warrens actually. I don't agree with some of their findings because I don't believe everything's a demon, and that was what they were after.
Well, they're demonologists. Everything in their mind is going to be demoned. I mean,
but not everything they found was a demon.
Well,
they just called it one.
The way that I always look at that is different people call things different things.
Right.
And if they're saying demon, we're saying malevolent entity, we're saying spirit, we're saying, so it's just a different way of categorizing the same thing. It's just whatever your beliefs are in it.
Yeah. Well, look at the Catholic Church right now. The worst case scenario is happening right now. These demonics and these strange things have been happening so much that they've actually opened up their field of exorcisms and everything else to other churches and other things to be able to do it because they don't have enough people that are interested in it, It's a calling.
Yeah, I remember I heard they were trying to find more demonologists for the Catholic Church.
Not enough that are interested, not enough that qualify.
Right.
Not enough to qualify, yeah. When I have a very good friend that's on our team, and he also does other things, and he is certified and does do that. And Father Casey Scruggs, and he does quite a lot of cases. And let me tell you something. We were talking about it last night, and there's just not enough of it. There's a lot of people out there that say they're demonologists, and you're going to get in more trouble in this work than hanging with those people.
There's too
He'd be
many
a
fakes
good
out
guest,
there.
Eric.
Who?
Scruggs.
The father.
Oh, Casey Scruggs.
Well, even diocesan priests will admit to this kind of stuff. He's long dead, so I can't really. I'm not divulging anything, but Father Hayden, my priest in Lucius Hayden of Russellville, told us one time about he went on a retreat with some other priests, and in the middle of a prayer session, one of the priests went into convulsions. They had the smell of human feces, which is, anyhow, they ended up having to do the rite of exorcism on one of their own.
Right.
Because this thing was hidden so well, like Father Malachi Martin was talking about, the perfect possession, where even the possessed doesn't realize that they've got the demon with them.
Right. That's like the third stage.
With that. The first hour has flown. It's time for our first break tonight, so we will continue this when we come back. So stay with us, and we'll be back in 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
For those listening, if you want to join us in the chat room, unfortunately the Spreaker chat room is not working right now. So join us on www.s-4radio.com. Scroll down past the embedded player, and you will see a place that says, please put your nickname in, and you can join us in the chat room there. Come on in.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
And welcome back to S4. We are having our third out of 4 roundtables.
Well, 5.
5 roundtables.
Yeah, because the end of the marathon is a roundtable.
Oh yeah. Well,
Table
that's the
tables.
first week. That's for first weekend of September. I don't count that one.
If you want to hear us blabber our way through the last 3 hours, that's the one to listen to.
Right? What are you talking about? We blabber anyway.
Oh, it's going to be way worse.
So I do think so. I think Izzy's going to make a chat room in Forest Moon Paranormal Forest for probably starting next week.
Yeah.
That way we can get away with Spreaker, get away from Spreaker's chat because it doesn't seem to be working right. But like Cole said, we do have our active chat room going right now in www.s-4radio.com. You scroll past the embedded player and you will find us all in chat room having fun.
And if you see the cow, he's there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the boogery cow.
Yep.
Yep. Cow boogers. So, yes, we are now down to 89 degrees in the shade.
Woo!
And I think the kids are going in the pool after the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got that light set up and everything, so they're going to get out there.
It's going to be hot water, too.
Yep.
So, Cole, you had a follow-up question for the discussion, I believe, didn't you?
Well, it's along the same lines with what we were talking about last.
Okay.
So, what do you guys think causes events like stigmata?
Ooh.
Wow.
Like Padre Pio.
I think one, even like the movie kind of shows, you're chosen. I think you're chosen to have a stigmata event. Not, and I want to clarify, not necessarily gifted, because I don't think you're gifted per se.
No, that's painful.
But I think you're chosen.
By whom?
God.
Yeah, you get stigmata. Does somebody bad give it to you, or does somebody good give it to you?
I don't think it's contagious.
Going by the pain, I'd have to say someone bad, but...
It depends on your faith. No, seriously though, it would depend on your faith because it's a sign of goodwill and prosperity to have a stigmata happening.
But what's interesting is in the movie Stigmata, she wasn't Christian. She wasn't religious.
No.
But she was picked for those painful experiences.
I'm going to be a horrible person here, and I'm going to say, do you think it has anything to do with,
lifestyle?
No, I guess I would say, genes. Okay? So if you were a descendant...
Well, that's kind of what I mean by pick. So, yeah, and I think genes or DNA, or maybe what your family was prior, or maybe even in a past life, is how you're picked.
Oh, it could be past. I've heard of people having past life, like birthmarks, where their head was chopped off, and maybe it's a throwback to a past life.
Yeah, I like Izzy's point. So Izzy's in the chat room. She said, "I think it's mental. The mind can do all kinds of things to the body if you believe it."
That's where I'm going to get. That's my thought. Great thought, Izzy. I think that you can become so involved in your beliefs and so forth like that you can manifest these things.
Absolutely.
I think that works. That works if you are a nun, a priest, or a devotion. Somebody that's devoted. I think your faith can make that happen.
Right.
But when somebody that's not particularly, somebody that's not particularly devout comes down with it, I would say there has to be some other kind of organic reason.
Well,
yeah, because
when somebody else comes down with it that is not related to that, isn't there always another gift given, a prophecy or something like that? You have healing ability. You have some other gift that comes with the stigmata.
Not always. No. And I would say, though, too, that would be your inner turmoil, okay? Because, honestly, if you are not devout, but your family was, maybe the inner turmoil in your mind...
The guilt.
Or the thought process of, oh my God, should I be this or should I be that, is pulling at you so much that it could be mentally manifesting, too.
That wasn't actually fair of me and Kayla. We shouldn't say not always... We should say it wasn't always advertised if that did happen. Because just because they didn't say so doesn't mean they didn't have something.
This is something I've never researched. I can only base it off what I saw in the movie Stigmata. And I have to look at it as she wasn't a believer. She happened to get an artifact from a father in another country. That's how she got the stigmata.
Oh, that's right. She stole the rosary. She got the rosary beads off astigmatic.
Right.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't so much being stigmatic as it being
also,
an attachment or a possession.
Folks, if you haven't seen that movie, it's a great movie. I love the soundtrack too.
But that became more.
So apparently in the 1300s there was an onset of. It was significant. It was 13 people.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting number.
They were stigmatic, and in a small area. And that's why I say not always. None of them seem to have anything else happen to them. That was it.
Well, and that again, like as far as okay, so you've heard of oh man, why can't I think of that word right now? But mass hysteria. Okay, so if you have a small group of people that are all close together, and somebody has some kind of inner turmoil, or they believe that they're stigmatic or anything like that, then other people could manifest with the same issues because of the fact that you have something called mass hysteria.
That's how close to that person they were.
Right. And I mean,
isn't stigmata also the blood that comes out of statues? Or is that something different?
That's different.
Okay.
That's weeping angels.
That's different.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because,
How
stigmata...
common is stigmata?
Not
I mean,
very.
how often does it really happen?
Not very.
About once a week to me.
No. I don't think we're going to have a true number because they tend to suppress that.
Yeah, I believe that's something the Catholic Church suppresses. So, are we actually going to know? Probably about as much as UFOs.
And I wouldn't
But
say that just
wait,
the Catholic
that might
Church
actually be coming
suppresses
up.
it either. I would say that the people in their own families do as well, because if you have a stigmatic event,
It affects the entire
there's a
family.
whole bunch of people that come to see it. There's a whole bunch of psychiatrists, all kinds of people that'll be in this area that might not want that many tourists happening, you know, and doesn't want to have their family go through the fact that they're going to be like an exhibit in a museum.
I just remember when they saw Jesus' face in a piece of bologna. Remember that?
I thought it was a cracker.
Oh, it's happened in bologna.
I remember
too.
a screen door.
And they got flooded with tourists wanting to see Jesus in bologna.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember a piece of bread.
And there was a screen door, and they were saying it was Jesus' face, and then they realized it was just a really dirty screen door, and somebody had walked into it, and so they left their face impression in the door. That's what they figured out it was.
That's how they made money.
Wow.
Hey, look, it's Jesus in the screen. Now he's under the couch.
I remember Elvis in the Dorito.
Yeah, Elvis and the Dorito. Yeah.
So, do you think all those are symptomatic? I'm not asymptomatic.
Psychosomatic.
Psychosomatic. There you go. Thank you, Francie. Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Absolutely.
I don't think so.
I don't think
some
all
of them are actually bestowed by a divine or a supernatural source.
Some of them? Maybe. Maybe that person that saw it needed to see some kind of divine intervention in their life to avoid committing suicide, for example. It happens.
Maybe it's
I
just,
honestly think it's a disease that we never came up with. And this is why I'm a bad Catholic. Cause
Bad Catholic.
I honestly believe it's a disease that we just haven't really discovered yet. And because of the religious incitement of it,
Right.
the Catholic Church doesn't really allow you to claim anything else.
No, then you're, what's the word for it?
heathen.
Well, no, they take
No,
them
I'm a
away.
heathen. Come on
They
now.
take them away.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking like it's some kind of thing, kind of like leprosy or whatever. That it just so happens that it causes blood on the palms. It causes
your palms to split.
It causes different types of bleeding, like a bleeding disorder, like hemophilia. But
something to the point.
And that's possible. It doesn't happen enough that we know of.
Well, I have wounds. I have wounds on my leg that won't heal. on both legs, just above my ankles. And does that mean I'm stomatic? I don't, but
Yeah.
you know,
That's
one of the
aliens.
things is there you go. Is I'm looking at it, and I did a little web search real fast because I was interested in it, and I just wanted to see what it said about it. But do you know that it mentions that there was, after Christ's death, the death of Jesus, there was never a case for the first 1,200 years.
Yeah.
And the first one was St. Francis Assisi. And so, who knows? I mean, it's kind of, it could be something that was done. And I mean, it mentions that they were God's choice to suffer the same wounds that his son did. So,
Okay. Experiment time.
I don't know.
Okay.
Barry just asked us if he's stigmatic. And we it was asked if there were other powers that come with it. So the next person you see on the street, Barry, you walk up, you smack him in the head, and you say, "You are healed."
Healed. That's it.
I'm curious if it works.
If not, we'll send bail money.
Right.
Yeah. And it was funny. I have some friends of mine have been to some different places, and I even have a bottle of oil that came from this bleeding Bible that bleeds oil in Georgia. And it was really funny. I've used some of it in some of my cases. And what's really weird about it, the bottle keeps on filling itself.
Oh my God.
It never runs empty. The level keeps on going back up. So I'm like, I don't know what this is filling with, but I put the lid on, put it away, and I pull it back out, and I'm like, ooh. I put it in a plastic bag, Ziploc, and I was carrying it, so just in case anything happened to it.
Oh my God.
And the lid was tight as could be. There was no oil on the little vial itself, but in the bag there was oil in the bag. So, pretty crazy stuff.
Huh. We live in that crazy world.
While we've been talking, I have found a research article from the International Journal of Dermatology in 2018 about the religious stigmata, the dermopsychiatric approach, and differential diagnosis. And they say that since the 13th century, there have been 300 documented medical cases of stigmata.
Huh.
Wow.
Since the 13th century? That's a lot.
Since the 13th century. So
But
it's
how-
not that... Well, and this is, documented by doctors.
Right.
But they
How many of them were-
align it... They
Go ahead.
align it to intense emotion. So, psychological stress and intense emotion are always or usually associated with stigmata. So one
and
hand in hand with the other.
And that goes right with what Izzy said is, your mind can do a whole lot of crazy stuff to you if you're under intense stress.
Well, think about all those mothers that have picked up SUVs off of their child after an accident or something of that nature. I mean, you have so much adrenaline and stress that...
Could it have been, though, that prior to St. Francis of Assisi, the people who did get stigmata were... Stoned? Yes. I don't mean stoned with weed.
Stoned, burnt, hung, whatever it is.
As heretics.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're trying to imitate Christ.
Yeah.
Throw him up against the wall. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. So what's your first question tonight, Marco?
Okay, this one's kind of got me thinking. We are on the cusp of artificial intelligence being, I would say within my lifetime or just shortly after, we're going to have androids that are indistinguishable from humans at first glance.
Mm-hmm.
okay, in a case like that, are the repercussions going to be that, AI will probably cause the extinction of the human race, not so much by, like the Terminator style thing, but by becoming a more attractive alternative to another human being than going out and putting up with all the rigmarole that you have to put up with.
Well, with that, we already
So you're talking
see...
about sex bots?
Not so much. Not so much.
I mean, actually, kind of. If you'd rather be with an artificial person than a real person, you're not going to reproduce, right?
Right. But what I'm getting at is, okay, there's a real market for robots that would take care of old people, like caretaker robots.
Well, it's going to take away the employment factor. People are going to go broke because they're not making money to take care of their family. Look at all the factories that have laid off their workers because they went to robots to build
but you'd
cars,
also
for
need
example.
machinists in order to actually keep them updated and everything
Not
else.
as many as you would. So if you have 300 people working on cars, you think you need 300 people to maintain a robot?
Yeah, actually, with all the software updates and everything else that you
So
would
they're
need to
going
put
to
into
change
that.
your whole profession to learn how to fix a robot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone's it's going to have to happen.
And it's not going to be just one
already
company cranking them out.
Yeah.
You're going to have all these different companies putting them out. And I'm not talking the animatronic type of thing they have now. I'm talking about more like, I think the series was Humans 3.0, where the only way you could tell the difference is eye color. Their eyes glowed a certain way, and that lets you know that they were under control or that they were androids. We're not that far away. The way technology evolves and leapfrogs. But say you're one of these people that's sort of a social outcast, you're socially awkward, you don't go out and meet people, you've got the option of getting this robot companion. You'd be a fool not to. And this thing would take care of you your whole life.
I see pros and cons with it. 'Cause I still see it hurting the labor market. Yeah, okay, sure, but that means you have to go to school to learn how to fix a robot.
Or it might be a trade school. It might be like an apprenticeship.
Right, or to learn the software
Wouldn't
side
the robots fix the robots?
That's another thing I'd be worried about. When it gets to that point, there's no reason to have a human.
Singularity.
Well,
The
there was
robots start designing the new robots.
Yeah, robot evolution, and I think humans are going to. I think what's going to happen is humans are going to start saying, "Why go through all the, the chances of failure in a human relationship?" They're going to get their custom-made, companion.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be indistinguishable. It's going to be indistinguishable from a human, except for the fact that you've got to take it in every 6 months, maybe, to get a software. Anyhow, that's beyond the scope of what my question is.
It's going to be completely distinguishable.
If your robot is an artificial intelligence and it becomes self-aware, maybe it decides it doesn't want to wipe your butt anymore. It wants to go out and do its own thing.
Well, right? It's fired.
Well, then it gets picked up and reprogrammed. I'm thinking these things are going to have like if you have an expensive car like a Ferrari, you've got a service regimen, a maintenance schedule.
But then you're running off the 3 laws of robotics. Those 3 laws of robotics will never work.
Mm-hmm.
It will never happen. Eventually, they will get so smart that they will outsmart those 3 laws, and they'll figure out they don't need to follow them.
And then you've got an iRobot situation.
Yeah, completely.
If you kill a robot that's self-aware, is that murder?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Actually,
By that
it is.
point in time, it would be.
I think it's in Sweden right now that it is actually.
Well, Saudi
they
Arabia.
call them
Is it Saudi Arabia?
human rights.
Saudi Arabia had Sophia.
It's Sophia. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I think even if
So,
you
yeah, it would
had,
be.
I mean, let's just say gender neutral companion robot. You know, I think people are going to be. We're already getting to where we socialize on social media more than we get out together. And
That was before COVID.
But once
We're-
you get
we're-
this, you've got everything you need, right? You've got the. Like I'm thinking of my father when he was after Mom died, and he was totally dependent on me to get him around. These companion robots are going to fill a niche that's needed with the elderly. And then what do you do? What happens after? Is it a contract between one person and one
But
companion?
that will be the distinguishable part. They won't argue. There won't be the little arguments that every human has with each other.
Yep. And
There'll be none of that.
You get to that point,
That's
there
even
goes
better.
There
No,
goes
it's
the
not.
medical.
No, because that's what holds most relationships together is your differences, not your similarities.
I don't think
Because then we have to give them complete control of the government. Otherwise, our future people won't be able to handle an argument.
Now, I get that.
They can't now.
I get that this was a Disney
But
cartoon.
to the point where a small argument like that's a nice shirt. Oh, really? Is it? Will turn into a nuclear war because they can't even handle that.
Have you seen
There'll be
Wall-E?
I don't think that's where I'm going with this.
Have you seen Wall-E?
Yeah.
Okay, so the robots, they became so dependent on robots and different machinery that they could not do anything for themselves again.
Well, if you look at the Dune books, one of the central tenets was you will make no machine that mimics the human brain, because there was a point in the history of that storyline where people became so dependent on their robots that they just they became victims of, and I think that's how AI is going to cause our extinction.
I think that every human being has a need for human interaction and human contact.
Well,
They
and-
have
But if
a-
you have an AI that mimics human behavior so well that it's indistinguishable,
I don't think that's
But
in,
that
I don't
the
think
biggest
that's
issue,
in
they're
for
not,
the
that's
at
not
least
what they're
next
trying
20
to
years.
do.
Because like Izzy says, too, in the chat, with the elderly in need of care, they need real interaction, including arguments.
but you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm saying these things are going to be so human-like that you, as you interact with them, it's like you're interacting with another human.
But the guys who are trying to do this aren't trying to make them as human as possible. They're trying to make them better.
Yeah,
Well,
that is true.
They're not trying to mimic the human brain. That concept left years ago. That's not the idea anymore. They want to make them better than the human brain. Better than the human brain ever possibly could be, even if we used 100% of it.
then we as a biological species are doomed.
Absolutely.
That's their mistake.
Yeah, that's the stupid side of it. And, getting back to the labor side of it, you start having AIs taking care of the elderly and whatnot, there goes the CNA. There goes the nursing field. There goes a lot of the medical field.
Yeah.
Going AI? No, hell no.
Well, really, we all need to learn how to be animal trainers. Because that guy is going to successfully recreate a dinosaur.
Oh, God,
And we're all going to need to know how to handle that.
No.
So,
Well,
Hey, I think that grays are a perfect example of what would happen when you try to evolve an AI to the point where it's smarter. It might be smarter, it might have more skills, it might be able to do something, but it's not gonna have this same thought process. It
it's
can't.
not going to have the limbic
It
system.
can't have
So
the
if
same
you go by
emotions.
theory, no, what happened with the Greys was an alien war where their actual planet was destroyed.
Yeah, I meant more of the emotional aspect of the Greys, where you have them
They're like a
as
donut. There's
species,
the
but they
center's
don't
missing.
have the emotions. They don't have the
Right.
Yeah, that's more of what I was talking about. Not so much that they're actual AI,
Yeah.
but that you would have that emotional disconnect. And people need to be loved.
But
and if
they're
you're
working
loving
on that
something
with
that
the
can't
hybrid
actually
program.
love you back,
But if it can mimic the behavior of a lover to the point that it's indistinguishable from another human,
that's scary.
Would you know the difference?
no, but then it could also hate you just as much, and it could kill you just as much, and it could argue just as much. So it would just be, it would end up evolving to the point where it would be the same as having a human-to-human relationship.
I think it would be the human. I think they could probably program it, and I'm not talking about Asimov's 3 laws. They were quaint in the 60s, and they made sense. But if you have an algorithm, when you're making a computer, which AI isn't a computer, there's going to be a if-then logic bubble that if it goes the wrong way, it's deleted.
Right, but
But
then
To be
it's,
self-regulating.
But that's the thing. In order to make it as complex as a human mind and make actually to the point where it is equal to a human, you can't use an algorithm.
right. But then you would also
You need to use at least 10 billion of them at once.
We're this close to quantum computers.
But a quantum computer is still not equal. It's not equal in the same way.
Okay, because then you would have the differentiation too there. It would break your mind because of the fact that you were saying that they're so human-like that you can feel the love and the emotion from them, right? But then on the other end of that spectrum, if you don't feel this or don't feel that, then you can take them in and get them upgraded, or you can take them in and get them this or that. So you would know that emotion was fake.
So I have a hard time with that
But would
anyway
it matter?
because I don't see them having the same emotion. It's going to be fake. It's going to be cheesy. We have humans that are just as fake and cheesy. I could name a few, but I won't. But, honestly, you're not going to get that human need, regardless of how they're programmed or trained, from an AI. I don't see it.
I disagree.
I don't see it.
It's been explored in several different series. The human Cylons in the latest Battlestar Galactica were indistinguishable. They even bled.
Mm-hmm.
They were...
Yeah, but they figured out how to put a guy in costume and do it. They have never...
But I'm saying, it's the way things are evolving, it's not out of the realm of possibility that we're going to create... we're going to be the parents of these...
Things? Like
Well,
AI
yeah,
things?
that AI is going to become the dominant species of the planet because it's going to be an attractive option for so many people.
I honestly don't think the planet will last long enough to ever see it.
That's the rate we're going. I don't think so either.
Yeah.
That's a different
I don't
question.
think so
I'm
either.
saying all things being equal,
I-
the planet goes on.
The planet,
Technology
no. Okay,
keeps
so the
evolving.
planet's going to go on. There's no doubt about that. We're fleas that are going to be shaken off of a living being. But the human race, the way it's going, at least in America...
At the same time, you can't say that either, because the planet may not go on. It might be something out of our complete control that we didn't cause.
Oh, that's true.
Izzy, I'm not using that as an example so much as to just say they explored the idea.
Yeah,
I know they're actors. I'm not lost in.
Yeah. No,
I'm not lost in
a lot
fantasy
of
land.
there's been a lot of different movies and different ideals and different stories throughout the years that have explored that as a possibility of, especially with people who are what you would call shut-ins or agoraphobics or things of that nature.
Well,
And
look
I
at the
think-
people
I
that
think
are
for-
like the doll husbands.
Yes.
I mean, they've
and I
formed
think
these
for a
relationships
select
with non.
number, for a select number of people, I don't think it would make any difference because we have those people now. We have those people now that use the for real dolls and different things like that, and they believe that doll loves them. They are in that relationship, just like me and Cole are in this relationship.
Now,
And
add
they're-
an artificial intelligence, or even if it's an organically based artificial intelligence.
So I do believe for some people that they wouldn't care, or there wouldn't be a
it would be
differentiation.
important
It would be what it is, and this is who I'm with. And it wouldn't matter if they were AI or if they were human or if they were some other race at that point. It is who you're with, it's how you feel about that person, and how your emotions are involved with them. So I do think that for a select group of people, that actually it might not be such a horrible thing to have for those select group of people.
Right.
But
So
I don't believe
you're
that as
talking
a
about
whole,
emotion.
we would encompass it the way that you think.
Well, it could be a situation in, they explored it in early Twilight Zone, where they got the robot mother. I Sing the Body Electric, I think was the episode. And the kids became attached to the nanny bot, just as much as they would of their own mother.
Right, and you see that in shows today, like Umbrella Academy and different things like that.
Yes.
Like, and that's
You
what
see
I
that
say
in life.
is, yes.
Tablets.
Right.
But what I say is definitely for a select group, but I don't think as a whole.
I think
we
Cole
would
just
do
made
it.
the point for me. We're attached to our cell phones, our
Phones
tablets,
and
our Chromebooks.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not that
But
much
what
of a
happens
leap.
every time that thing behind you speaks when he's not supposed to?
What the?
But it's
Google
not
Home.
Like the
reciprocal.
Google or something.
We freak
It's not
out.
reciprocal. The inanimate or the AI, could they also reciprocate emotion?
Yes, it's going to evolve to the point where they're going to mimic us so completely that you're not going to, it's the Turing test. You're going to be talking to this artificial intelligence inside an android body and not be able to tell that it's human.
Well,
It's not human.
Huh.
And like Cole just said, when Google or Alexa, who is sitting behind us in a device, not even in a body, but we'll be sitting here talking about something, and out of the blue, one of them will speak, and what
But
the
in
hell is
another
that?
generation,
Yeah.
that reaction. I mean,
Absolutely.
we're all we remember Paul. Okay. This next generation is more attached to their technology.
Right.
How do you punish a child now? You don't stick them in the corner. You take away their tablet.
We'll take away their Xbox.
Yeah. The generation after that is going to be even more attached.
Yeah, if it keeps going down that road of evolution, definitely it will be more attached to devices and more attached to technology.
And they'll be more willing
Yeah.
to make that leap to go with the artificial partner.
And it is a possibility for sure. But
If it's not nipped.
I think that our science, I don't think this will happen in my lifetime. I would say that
Not mine, but I think you're young enough that it will.
I don't.
I really
Because look up the guys who have actually done this already, who they have sex robots. They don't leave their house. They talk to them. They deal with them. Most
Well,
of them
make
aren't
it
alive
right
anymore.
only.
yeah.
Most
And
of
as
them,
that technology evolves and becomes even better,
I think they'll still kill themselves like they already have been.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's a learned behavior. I mean, human behavior is learned. And anything that has the capability of learning it can achieve it, can it not?
Yes, but artificial intelligence goes beyond human behavior. It learns better than us. That's the point. It will always learn better than us, and eventually it'll get to the point where it no longer needs the human.
Yeah, and
Right.
that will be like
Therefore-
mass extinction level.
But instead of putting the effort into exterminating humans, they insinuate you end up with a race of a self-replicating race of artificial intelligence that more or less insinuates itself. You
No,
may
they'll
not
put us
know
into
you're
slavery.
even. Huh?
We will become the lesser being. They'll put us into slavery. Because you taught them to be human. You gave them human examples.
That
What do we
could
do?
Run that way, but they could be above that.
Yeah.
They could go beyond that and say, "Well, we don't need."
Not if we're the ones who build them. I don't believe they have a chance.
Yeah, we're so flawed that we would put our flaws in them.
Well, yeah, and go to the next step beyond of as far as thinking in the supernatural way or belief or conscious way. And there's a lot of things that go into a belief system or whatever that would make that a pretty terrible thing if they didn't have that.
Well, if it
spirit or
evolves to
soul
the point
connection.
where if it evolves to the point that we actually know what consciousness is and where it is, and can transfer it into one of these sleek, healthy. I mean, I'm a train wreck. I wore out a body that was supposed to last 70. I wore that sucker out in 57 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I could literally transfer my consciousness into a different vessel, that would be a very attractive option. And not just to me. I mean, look at somebody like Stephen Hawking. It's like, okay, you're in this crippled-ass body that can't even breathe on its own. How would you like to transfer into, you know, Studbot 2000 here?
I think that right, and I think that with this, it's gonna be one of those. We'll have to wait and see which way the coin flips, whether or not we're gonna become some enslaved race to these things, whether we're gonna live together in harmony, or whether or not we're gonna end up taking back over from them eventually.
I think they'll be so intelligent that they will enslave us in such a way we don't. I mean, we're already enslaved.
We don't even realize that we're enslaved by them.
We're already enslaved in a way.
I'm hoping that at that point, the alien overlords will come down and say, "What the hell's wrong with you people?
Well,
this is a bad idea, guys."
Okay, look at not that I'm a big Bible thumper, but what if that is what triggers the true second coming? It's like, no, I didn't intend for y'all to become robots. You're supposed to be spiritual being. You were supposed to evolve. And he already God already knows that this crap is going to go wrong, and he has to hit a reset. And that's the whole idea of the second coming. It's like, no, this is not what I wanted. You know, back to being humans.
I always wonder how many times we've already hit that reset.
I honestly don't. I don't think the second coming will ever happen.
You're talking about being able to transfer into a body and becoming a robot. Aren't we kind of doing that already? There are people walking around with artificial hearts, artificial hips and bones and stuff everywhere.
Hey, leave me out of this.
Do you feel like a robot, Cole?
I mean, there are a lot of people walking around with metal pieces inside of them.
And you know,
does not compute.
But you know who that gets tested and experimented on is soldiers. They did a lot of that when our soldiers came back from Iraq. They had titanium legs. They had robotic limbs.
Yeah. Lieutenant Dan.
Mm-hmm.
It's
maybe
the military
it'll just end up being some kind of a cyborg type thing, like best
like
of
the
both
board.
worlds.
Well, yeah.
So it'll become so smart, and then they'll mesh together, and we'll have some kind of cyborg-ish.
Well, that's what the transhumanists think. But it's going to come to a point where I think it's going to come to a point where, like the movie AI, where we evolve completely away from organic.
I mean, man, the clouds are the possibilities. Like, it could go so many different ways, and it could go
you
so
could end
wrong
up with
or
the Butler
so right
and Jerry
or so...
Hod and go back to
Exactly.
humanity, or we embrace it.
Exactly.
I have to say, if I could go to a hardware upgrade and, get my body to work like it did when I was 18, yeah, buddy.
Right. No,
I'd be willing to leave on my bad heart, my diabetes mind.
I would say that would also come like with what we would say an alien invasion or anything like that. I think that it goes one of three ways. You either win or they win, like in slavery either way there, or you learn to live together and you make what would be considered hybrids of the species.
I guess it depends on if we want to go down the alien invasion route. Are you going to have like the Independence Day type of invasion, or are you going to have the
like the Vulcans
Earth
coming
final
down.
conflict where we were actually. It was a give and take, more of a symbiosis. If it becomes a symbiotic relationship.
Right. Are we going to get along with these things? And if we do, then are we going to just integrate them into our world and we're all going to become one society of whatever ends up happening? Or are we going to end up fighting and trying to kill each other? Or are we going to end up seeing who becomes the overlord and who becomes the underling?
The problem with advanced technology like that is there's less wasteful ways of getting rid. And I mean, if these things are immortal, for all intents and purposes, immortal, renewable, why waste the resources on extinguishing humans in one?
Why not just
live
it out?
As a race, we're really good at hanging ourselves.
Right? Why not just live it out?
Make this option so attractive that we quit breeding, we quit interacting with other humans.
See, the problem, the biggest...
Because you're going to have the people that will not fall into line.
Yeah, just like we do today, we have different groups of different
people. Okay, look how take people of a certain belief and how their kids fall away. You might have these enclaves of humanists, but their offspring, it just seems like offspring rebel against the
rebellion. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we take it into that and you look at the Matrix, even in something where it's all supposedly technology took over completely everything else, right? We still had a group of humans that fought against it.
No, that was demolition, man.
And
they had a really nice car.
And that's the thing is, we were given the ability to think differently than another person. And by having that ability, we're always going to have little offshoots of different things that believe in something completely different than this group does. Look at we have Amish who don't use the technologies of today.
But they're starting to.
We're still going to have that grouping of people that don't believe in the AI revolution.
Well, even with the Amish, I mean, they're adapting to more. Okay, there's a store outside of Winston-Salem it's an Amish enclave. There's one guy there that sure as hell knows how to use the electronic cash register and the card reader. Mm-hmm. Because, they've adapted it in a way. And
they have to.
Not to slam them, but I mean, it seems like they're anti-technology until they need it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, we'll make an exception for cash registers. If you know that you go to an Amish farm, of course, the house, no power lines are going to that. Mm-hmm. You look at the barn where the men have to work, there's a power line going out there. They're accepting electricity if it benefits them.
That in itself is human nature, though. Yeah. We're anti-everything until we need it. That's where my issue comes in with the whole them being able to take over. I'm not saying that the humans that are against it are going to just not use it. They're going to start a war.
Yeah.
Angels on the sideline, baffled and confused. Father, bless them all with reason, and this is what they choose. Monkey killing monkey over pieces of the ground. Tool. Right in two.
Yeah, like you said, there's so many humans that don't even think all humans deserve basic human rights. Look at our homeless issues today. Look at, we can't even take care of our own country. Why would you think you'd be able to convince them that AI deserves those rights? The rebellion force would be a hell of a lot larger than you think.
And we're also talking third world countries here. We're not talking, there are many tribes in different areas and stuff that don't have any form of technology at all. There are certain ones that we haven't even been able to land on that freaking island.
Look at the Amazon, all the tribes in the Amazon, not the factory.
No, I know what you're saying. In the rainforest.
Yeah, in the rainforest.
I think at this point we've exhausted this one. We're never going to all come to an agreement.
Oh, we know.
That's the idea. And that's the perfect roundtable.
But that's a perfect roundtable, absolutely. But Kayla, what is your first question tonight?
My first question is about orbs. Okay.
Oh God! What? Oh, here we go again. No. All right.
No.
Orbs.
Okay, so we see different colored orbs, and we see different sized orbs, and all kinds of different things with orbs. Okay, and I know that a lot of them can be like insects or camera glare, but there are some of them that we cannot explain besides of the fact that that's an orb.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so do you think that orbs of that nature, like the ones that we cannot explain where they came from, now, do you think that most of them are Fae related, or do you think that they're more spirit related?
I think it could be any of them. I think there's aliens that appear as orbs. Fae, a lot of. Spirits,
Yeah, a lot of the
sometimes.
UFOs people see are orbs.
Orbs. Yeah, they do see
I'm not even talking about the UFO side. I'm talking about aliens can actually come as orbs too. There isn't a race that actually is orb-like.
Mm-hmm.
It's
well,
just
what
the
is an
perception
orb?
of them.
If you're seeing a normal orb, it's nothing but energy.
It's a ball of energy.
Yeah, I mean it's a ball of energy.
But
so
if you look
is
at
made out of energy,
here's the thing: if you look at some pictures, you'll actually see a face inside that orb.
sometimes yes.
Is that orb maybe some kind of a really small drone type craft that some aliens are flying?
And that has been discussed before. I mean, there's people that have seen an alien in an area, a small being, and then what do they see afterwards? They'll see a orb that will leave the wooded area and head back.
Absolutely.
Is that their craft that they go back to the mothership with?
I do think so.
Down with this. Yeah, and it's a purple device.
So dust orbs are really easy to rule out. Real easy.
Yeah.
They just kind of
very
float
easy.
around. The ones that are harder are insects because they actually do fly, in zigzag patterns, or they'll stop and they'll go in another direction. Some of those are insects, but not all of them. And usually you can actually see the insect within it. So it's obviously not an orb, it's an insect.
Could some orbs be, say you're an advanced race, and to get here, I think you have to be advanced. If you're traveling the cosmic distances, you've got to have been able to break the speed limit.
Right.
So they've got this ability. Maybe they're concerned about picking up Earth diseases or exposure to.
So they're in a bubble.
Well, maybe they can take their consciousness. I'm thinking something like it's like, okay, they leave their body behind, they put their consciousness in this craft, this orb, and that's how they explore.
And that's possible.
Like a Merkaba.
Yeah. And I'm with Izzy. 99% of the orbs that are not explainable are Fae. I would agree with that.
I think
I'd give a better number than 99.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'd give a better number than 99.
I've never experienced an orb, so
I've
really beyond speculation.
I
have
have
one,
seen
actually.
some pretty amazing orbs, and the one that bothers me the most are the straight path flashing orbs that flash. And I've actually seen them go through. We've had cameras in 2 different rooms at the same time, and seen them actually go through a wall. And they'll come into the wall and go through the wall, and they'll continue to flash on that pathway.
We'd love to see one. We'd love to experience that.
Those are just like, when you see it, you just kind of go, wow. And you may experience a temperature change in the room. You may experience something else that happens in the room. Or just a feeling of different energy, just that strength of energy. Even feeling like you're being followed. I mean, I've walked through a house and saw, other people watch the camera and know that I'll turn around and feel like, wow, followed,
Already done.
So, yeah, there's some kind of energy that's transmitted. Something funny, everybody uses the Kinect, and we've seen a lot of the Kinect things out with the stick figures and everything else. Well, when they came out with the 3D Kinect, it takes a lot, a lot of paranormal teams have moved to that. But we use it. It takes a lot of computer power and everything else to run it. But one of the interesting things that we have seen with true orbs is that as the 3D version is throwing out so much of these laser rays and bouncing all over the walls and everything. When an orb goes through, it seems like an orb will actually suck that energy up, and it will allow you to see the orb through the connect as almost like a black ball of energy, and it will actually leave its own shadow. You'll actually see another shadow behind it, leaving a shadow. And those are some of the most incredible things, and as we use it more and more, we are just, I mean, it's baffling. I mean, it's kind of like going, wow. Because actually what it does is, instead of that beam going through it or anything else, it is actually just sucking that energy up from that beam. And it's pretty amazing. And I still, the verdict's still out on it. We've seen it a few times, and we've captured it on video, and it's very interesting to me. So,
do they interact?
As far as interacting, as far as, like I said, we'll see temperature changes sometimes. We have not had one. We don't get an EVP with it or anything else. We haven't gotten an EVP. They just move through the room, and they normally always. It's funny. We tracked one in the home that actually started coming up the stairs, just like a person walking up the stairs. And it came through. It was on a straight line path, and as it was going through, it was heading towards a closet that went into the attic of this house. There's an extra attic off the top of this house through there, and it had a pathway. It knew where it was going, and it went that way. And we caught it, and it also had a shadow. It left a shadow of that orb, so pretty interesting.
Could it be leakage from another dimension? It's not that it's an orb in our dimension so much, but maybe it's something that right there where the two dimensions are touching, it's thin. You might be seeing a totally normal, unsupernatural event of somebody in that parallel universe or that dimension just off our walking up the stairs into their upstairs bedroom.
Very,
and the orb is the manifestation of that.
Right, as the it's energy. We all have energy. It's just like watching a residual. Obviously, yes, we can see a residual person walk down a hallway that's done it over and over again. It's released, and it's like a video. And so is it the same thing? I mean, it all depends on what that veil, how close that veil interacts. And as we know, as that veil shifts and gets closer, then you may be able to see it as more of a human figure, or see that as that way, or else as it's separated apart, all you're going to see is the orb of that energy of that person coming up and down the stairs that they've done a million times.
Their aura, basically, like supposedly we all have an aura, and maybe the energy of the aura is what's going between the membrane.
Either that, or the energy of its consciousness, or what's left of that which we consider to be soul. The part that leaves your body when you die, that's been measured and everything else, and it could be that. I mean, it's nothing but pure energy.
Cool.
So, through non-time there is no time and space, in that world. So who knows?
Well, according to some physicists, all time is acting at once. That where you're sitting right now, just slightly out of phase to our time, it's entirely possible that there's a T-Rex munching out on whatever it could find right there in your living room at the same time that we're having this conversation.
Right.
Yes, you're exactly right.
All right. It is time for our second break. So when we come back, let's see. Am I going to ask a question, or do I want to go to what? Cole? Joe. We'll go to Joe. Your second question. All right.
Wow. Eric doesn't even get a question, Kayla? That's kind of harsh.
Nope, not allowed.
Nice. Stay tuned, folks.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Welcome back to S4. We're having a great time tonight with Roundtable number 3. Oh, I'm getting my coffee here. So, Joe, what's your next question tonight? And hey, for our local listeners real quick, we are having a lightning storm. It's more heat lightning than anything. So do we really need to worry about it? Well, I would be worried about the fires. That's what I'd be worried about. Because it can cause fires. And we are in a red flag state of fire threats. So, yeah, watch for smoke.
Do you know what?
Flame. What?
You remember that whole knock on wood thing from earlier?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not going to wait again.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joe, what's your second question tonight?
Well, I'm just hoping the lightning. We got the lightning down here too. I'm watching it on the horizon. It's definitely fire country. So,
no, absolutely.
Anyway, you guys were all talking about demons earlier, and keeping in that discussion, I was wondering if it's possible that some of these people that are burning and looting the cities and basically going nuts. I mean, it's gone beyond some people protesting to just pure insanity in some places. I'm wondering, is it possible some of those people are possessed? What do you think?
I would say that's more herd mentality. Once one person starts doing something, you got a whole group of people.
But could the first
couldn't
person
it be
that
one person
initiates
that's possessed that gets everybody else fired up?
I mean,
possible.
It's always possible, but like I said, I think humans have enough crazy in them without.
Certain biblical scholars think that maybe we created Satan as a, the devil made me do it to cover their own poor behavior.
I am going to go kind of on a limb here a little bit.
I'm going to go roll up in my car.
That's 5 miles away. But
You got to understand, and I'm listening to Thunder, folks. So there's been a lot of hatred, a lot of division, a lot of anger and outright rage this year.
Most definitely.
And it really started in 2016, but it rolled like a snowball into COVID.
Yep.
And now people don't like to be told what to do. So whether you like wearing a mask or don't like wearing a mask, people have to have something to bitch about. And then the other riots.
It's a trigger.
Yeah. Now, are they possessed? I would say probably not. But the caveat to that is the chances of them becoming possessed because of those emotions and the lack of control of those emotions. Mm-hmm. It's not normal to want to go burn down a building. That's not normal. It's not normal just to go randomly destroy shit. That's human nature, yes.
Well,
but
look at the murder rate. It's going through the roof. People are shooting everybody.
I know.
It's like everybody's completely lost it.
They have.
So could we be creating more like a topa? I mean, not a topa, but
no.
like the situation, because everybody has jumped on the same bandwagon.
Here's what I see. Not a tulpa. I'm not going to say a tulpa, but
yeah, that's not right.
I think people are taking advantage because everyone's losing their shit, and you can get away with more. I mean, face it, you can get away with more.
Well, I've always looked at it like this, like what's going on right now is people, just like animals in a zoo, okay? If you put an animal in a zoo and you keep it in captivity for long enough, it's going to freak out because it can't handle the fact that it can't leave that enclosure, okay? So when you tell everybody that they need to stay at home and not go see anyone and not have any contact with these people and not do this, well, we got a whole bunch of people who rely on other people, who need human contact. And when we take that away from them, all of those angers, all of those thoughts, everything else is coming to the surface that might not have before.
Here's something maybe you can address, Francie, because so I was asked by an individual locally today that's some loud ass lightning or thunder.
I heard that one.
I hear that.
Yeah, it's 9
I'm
miles
watching
away.
lightning, but I'm not getting any thunder here.
Well,
we
I'm
got
just getting the heat lightning. That's even worse.
We got a
I
huge
think this
storm
might be
moving in.
sheet.
This is crazy.
Sheet lightning.
With how much it's lighting up the sky, I think we might have sheet lightning going on.
So I was asked by an individual today, and it's community specific up here, but what do we need as far as mental health to help fix issues going on? And I was asked basically, what do I see as a mental health need? Well, here's what I see. I see depression. I see a lot of people getting depressed because they have to stay home. They have to self-isolate. They can't be around their family, their friends.
There's
that
financial
causes depression.
issues. Mm-hmm.
I'm getting to that. You have a lot of fear and uncertainty over a future that nobody knows what's going to happen. Is COVID going to get worse? Is Trump or Biden going to win? And even if they do or don't, you're going to see a lot of turmoil. Because, oh my God,
it's the uncertainty.
Absolutely. So you see a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty over the future. You know, and like Kayla just said, the financial aspect. People are out of work. Businesses are going out of business.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add on top of
There's
that
a
the
lot of
child
suffering.
aspect. If you have
Absolutely.
a kid, man, with online schooling, and are you even going to be able to go to work because your child
Your
is
child's going to
need
online
somebody
school,
to
so
see
is
them?
there a parent that's going to be able to stay home to take care of that? Then you throw in the anger and the rage. Oh my God, nobody's going to tell me what to do. I've got guns. Blah, 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 blah. You know, they're violating my constitutional right. So you got the radicals and the extremists that are taking advantage of the chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You have that too. So throw all that into the mix. Yes, you have a very chaotic, a very emotionally unstable culture and world.
Like you said, like you said, all the extremists and the radicals are taking advantage of all this. Couldn't the demons be doing the same thing?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying they aren't. I'm just saying
It's a smorgasbord for them.
Well, the demons are acting as perhaps a
All you
possessed
can eat.
individual, or a demon
Yep.
is acting as the agent provocateur.
so. You know,
And
some
then human nature takes over.
and I'm not going to say that's happening, but some of these mass shooters that you see today, yes, they very easily could have been possessed by a demon. Shoot them up, and then the demon's gone. Oh my God, what did I do? But you're not going to see that side of it.
No.
So, will we actually know if there's demon possession going on? No, we won't. Could it be going on? Absolutely, it could be.
Well, if you think
But we
about the
can't get
fact
proof
that
of
it's
that.
always going... Okay, so if you think of in any given year, it probably happens to at least one person on this planet.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be the same. I mean, there's going to be the same amount of demons for the same amount of vessels.
Here's what's interesting. I just watched a documentary on the Vegas shooter. They still don't know why he did that.
Mm-hmm.
They still...
And we'll never know.
No, because he died.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know, and so there's so many conspiracy theories that fly around. Oh, there was more than one shooter. I don't know. I don't see, you know, the guy knew what the hell he was doing, but the guy was also a very avid visitor of that casino. You know, they saw him in video after video playing the slots, doing this, doing that, doing normal, you know, customer things. They had no clue he had, 3 bags full of guns up in his room?
That's kind of the problem I've got, is I brought all my firearms with me so that we could shoot. And, you know, it's like I'm kind of self-conscious about carrying them into my room because, so with, like the one I brought today, I wrapped that in a blanket to where it wasn't overtly, you know, it's like, I wonder what he's got in the blanket. Better for them to wonder what I got than to peg me as a Vegas shooter type.
Right. But, you
Golf
know,
club bag.
well, that's the thing. Could the Vegas shooter have been possessed by a demon? Absolutely, he could have been. You know, there was no radical side even seen in his history. There was no, what's the word I'm looking for? They usually write a manifesto. There we go. There was no manifesto. There was absolutely no reason. He took automatic weapons and shot up killed 58 people and injured over 800.
Mm-hmm.
That was nuts.
But when you look at all of those mass shooting type situations and all of those horrible things, there's usually some form of this is what I'm planning, or this is why I did
There's
this.
a manifesto, or they've got some kind of a right-wing tie.
Well,
whether it's a militia, or whether it's Adamov Division, whether it's the Proud Boys, whether it's 09 Alpha. I mean, I could go on. I study this shit.
But look at the Texas Tower shooter. When they performed the autopsy, they found a tumor in his brain.
And that, and
that was causing this crazy behavior, they believe.
Right. There's enough issues in humanity in itself and enough things that can trigger things. And then when you add on top of that there's malevolent entities and demons and other things in the world too, I mean, it's just building up to some form of chaos.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things about it is it doesn't matter. What happens is that, so they find a tumor. Well, that's what they're going to say that is. We buy that. That's not the... that may not be the answer. It's just what everybody accepts.
Right.
The thing about it is that there are terrible things that are running in this earth. They've been around for thousands of years.
Right.
They've been here forever. And if you take jinn and everything else, and jinn are not only in certain areas of the Middle East, they also have come back here. And they are in this area. There are different forms of jinn.
Yeah.
Look at the vampire lore. Look at anything like that. They exist in a spiritual plane, and they're down here. And this earth has been here for many thousands of years, and there's a lot of different things that have been around. And as the turmoil has, more of them are able to seeming to be coming loose and coming up out of where they've been kept, and it is not a good thing. They're waking up because of disasters, anything like that, earthquakes, all the above. But when you look at it and you say it's all the way that it is what we are designed as people to do. We rely on a system that says the news covers it and this is what we're going to believe. Okay? This is what it is. And you're never going to know if it was a conspiracy theory or whatever. That's what conspiracy theories is, because you can look at the Vegas shooter and you can definitely tell that there was more than one shooter there, depending how you look. And there's other things that go on to it, and you just can't. It's mind-boggling to think that, geez, you know what? They wanted to get rid of automatic weapons. So what do? They kill 50 people. And what does that do? What's 50 people? We're all a number, but we can't go to the fact that saying, oh, that is what's actually happening, because we're not that kind of people, and we've always been taught that these are the good guys that are helping us, and what they've done is they've made everybody into the thing where, okay, I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to give you that, and I'm going to give you this. So now nobody wants to do this, nobody wants to work, nobody wants to do this. They're going to just sit around and say, hey, look, man, I can have 15 babies and get paid like major bucks to have more kids, We created our own things, and when you add the paranormal into it,
LBJ's
and you
Great
bring
Society.
Right, and you add the paranormal into it, then what do you get? You get a hodgepodge of stuff that could be happening all over the place, and we're not even
you get
close to even
you get a Pandora's box, and I'd like to know who the hell opened it up.
You get released the Titans.
Exactly.
Is what you get.
Exactly.
Well, Kentucky...
that's what it is. I mean, there is just tons of stuff that is under and around us, and the energy that is negative and waiting for that kind of stuff, and it can really bog the mind.
So
and,
I'm gonna,
we see it all the day.
I'm gonna go on a really weird tangent here for a second, and so everybody knows the story of the Titans, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so how many thousands of years were they supposed to be in there? And how close are we to actually being at that number right now? Just saying.
Yeah, and that's
about 3 weeks.
Couple weeks.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Okay,
and that's what we're saying. There are things that are out there that we're not paying attention to that's happened. It's been hid from us.
Right.
Look, it's all the things that we, our history, everything that we have done has always been written by the victors or written by other people. and they expect you to learn it and believe it. Now they've changed their schooling to say, this is what we're doing, and this is how we are, and this is what we try to do. And the young people are being associated and moved to a total different area, and they're just not in the same, I don't know, I mean, they've been made everything that, it's all been made up for them. So they're living a make-believe life almost. You know,
It's
and
almost
most
like
of
if you believe the fantasy long enough, it'll come true type of mentality.
Exactly. You know, and so you're living in the Matrix. You are happy, and you're just going around going, hey, this is what I get. This is what I want. You know, and it's not that way. And it's a shame, because other people are going to suffer, and they're going to go ahead, and they're going to, just like in Chicago this week. I mean, golly, a guy goes out and shoots a 5-year-old kid riding a bicycle because he didn't want to ride his bicycle in front of his house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the news media isn't picking that up, are they?
I mean, what kind of shit is that? You don't hear the news picking that up. You don't hear all that stuff going on.
So here's the thing, and that leads into my question, kind of. How do we rule out fact from fiction in today's news?
Well, you can't. That's the thing. I mean, we are to the point now where the news programs and everything else are totally not giving you the whole thing. I used to say...
I think there are ways to do that, though. I mean, like, for myself, like, you know, a lot of people use muscle testing. You can go within yourself to discern what's true.
That is true. You can do that. But most people are not even right now advanced enough to use that technique. They don't know about that technique, you know. And that's the thing. We've been COVID, everything else. We can't go out and tell people how to do that. We're not meeting people. We're not doing anything else. We're locked away. The people that have the answers can't give the answers to people. So you know, it's kind of like going, here we are. You are in a turmoil of crap, and you have been lied to. The news. I mean, back in the day, I would say if you watched ABC News at 3 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the morning, you would see stuff that would be so interesting to you, and you go, "Wow, can't wait to see what's happening with that." At 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock when it cuts when the big people get on, and you never hear it. You never hear it because at one time they were saying that all the executives came in at 5 o'clock, and they were telling you what the news. They were having meetings to tell you what the news was going to be that day.
Right.
1984, George Orwell had, you know, InfoSpeak, and how in the same broadcast, you know, they would reverse themselves depending on what the propaganda needed to be, and we're seeing that.
That's exactly what we see, and that's where it's all falling. You know, it's all falling apart. And what do you have? You have a government. You have people that are just out of their minds because they're so far out of reality.
And it seems like everything is so fast. Like the news cycle changes minute by minute. It used to be, you know, so much slower.
Well, if you remember correctly, back in the day, we had news at lunch, and you had it at 6 o'clock. And now we have 24-hour news channels that are carrying everything imaginable for 24 hours because they got to fill something.
And if you're not satisfied with that, you can go on Twitter.
Right, exactly. You go somewhere else to get it, you know, and that's exactly.
Well, like to Barry, to your point, you said we can't trust the news anymore because they're deciding. They're not giving us the news; they're telling us what the news is. And you put that in with what Eric said about 1984. Perfect example. I've watched for months pure riots happening,
Right.
And they keep calling them peaceful protests.
Yeah, peaceful.
They're not peaceful. I saw one today. It was Anderson Cooper. I was watching CNN, and they were talking about a peaceful protest where 27 police officers were injured.
Right. Not
now,
peaceful.
Does that make any sense?
No.
A peaceful protest where 27 police officers were injured?
No.
Well, I heard I heard a report. I was listening. I take breaks out in my car and I listen to the radio. And the guy was saying, well, with these peaceful protests, are you going to step in when the first window is broken? And this mealy-mouthed politician piece of crap's going, well, no, I think the damage, that personal property, some's just going to get damaged. Making excuses for these non-peaceful demonstrators. It's like they're almost
for bad behavior.
Encouraging this bad behavior.
Yeah, exactly. But that's their game. That's what they want to do.
Yes.
Because that's what causes turmoil. That's what causes all the things. And it's just like going. I had to deliver somebody to Nashville during the time when the first protests were coming out and the riots were. And he was riding the Greyhound bus. I took him down to Nashville at 10:30 at night. Okay, we get to the Greyhound bus station, and it is crowded as hell. Do you know why? Because all these protesters were being bussed in. They all had tickets to leave and go to the next place. Everything else. Who do you think paid that?
George Soros.
Exactly.
George Soros.
Exactly. So there's an agenda behind all this. So here you go. I mean, and people, you think the news is going to mention that? You think anything's going to happen to it? No, it's not, because there are an elite group of people that want us to be servant to them.
But that's why we need to get. That's why we need to get to real news. We need to force the media.
Right, but look what they hold over your head.
It's not just the media, though. They had the riots going on in Portland. I mean, one night it was just horrible what was going on there. And they asked Jerry Nadler in Washington, D.C., they asked him, what do you think about all this unrest in Portland? He said, it's a myth. It's not really happening.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the top congressional leaders in the United States, and he's saying it's a myth. None of it's really happening. Don't look over there. Look over here.
Yeah, it's misdirection. It's all the stuff that they want to do to cause all this.
Well, everybody right now is getting their wires crossed. There's so much information coming from so many different sides of everything.
And they're all experts.
Yes.
Right.
Every single one of them has a degree in exactly what you're looking for or whatever. It's just what it is. And to be honest, like, the sad part about it is that we're missing the message of what originally people were trying to state. Like, so all we can see now is riots. All we can see now is all this horrible stuff, but we lost the reason. We lost the connection with what was originally trying to be done.
Right. Well, there was, I mean, they actually made up a deal to make that happen like that, and there are so many different ways to look at it, and that's the problem. People have been, I'm sorry to say, dumbed down, conditioned socially. They've been socially conditioned over the years, and that's the whole thing about when you go back and look at history and you look at one thing that people don't get to see very often. And if you go back to 1959 and you see Eisenhower sitting there going, beware of the industrial complex.
Yes.
And if you don't believe a president going out of the thing going, whoa, we got some real problems here because these people are going to take over. And we have let them do it for 60 friggin' years.
Well, yeah, and it all downward spiral. So now you can't trust either. You can't trust either party because both parties are involved. So I don't want to make this political at all.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're kind of turning S4 into politics. But I get so sick of seeing Facebook And oh my God, the conservatives have a right. Go Trump. And the other one's going, oh, go Bernie. You know what? They're both in the same damn pot. They're both pieces of shit. There is no political party here. There shouldn't be.
Exactly.
Get rid of both of them.
Well, see, here's the thing. So if you want to condition a whole race of people, the first thing that you do is you make sure that your neighbor can't agree with your neighbor. If you cannot agree on a small scale, then you cannot agree on a large scale either. Then anything is possible and anything can happen.
And that's why I'm always pushing.
I don't agree with that at all.
But that's why I'm...
you know what happens is then what happens is negativity forms everywhere. And then what is out to come back? Getting back into the paranormal side.
Right.
Negativity, these entities feed on negativity.
Uh-huh.
So what are you putting out there? You're putting the massive... It's like watching the damn Ghostbusters 2, and there's this orange goo underneath the city. And
it's bubbling.
Yeah, it's bubbling.
Yeah.
Know? And that's
where's the
happening.
force? Where's the... Okay, these things exist in opposites. Where's the positive?
You know what? The positive got overrun a long time ago.
Yeah, there is no positive
Right.
anymore.
I don't
Everything
think
is
there's
a negative effect.
I don't think there's enough positive to override the negative that's going on now.
You can find it though, because like
You can find it in people. There are
I'm
some
sorry,
people
I must apologize, but I'm a liberal. And I live in North Idaho, and I have a lot of friends that are not liberals. They are very conservative. And we can have conversations where we come from, you know, what our basic needs are, and we can eventually agree.
Right.
Right.
But it takes
a lot.
It takes love, and it takes consideration, and it takes a willingness to talk about things and explore things. And honestly, as a culture, we don't know how to do that anymore.
That's the biggest problem right now, is that everybody wants to be right. What happened to the agree to disagree? What happened to the, hey, you know what, you have your opinions, I have my opinions, we can both have differentiating opinions, but we can both do this job together. We can still figure this out. Okay, it doesn't work that way, not as much anymore.
That's all gone. Whatever our society had about that, it's gone.
Yeah.
Just look at Facebook. Go on the internet and just look. It's just hatred, hatred, hatred. Our side hates your side, and your side hates our side, and we're never going to agree. And I hope you all die.
That's where
all
you
I
need,
see every day on the internet.
That's what happened to see the commonality in each other.
Yeah, what happened to the political relation? Okay, you couldn't have got two people more far apart politically than Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan. But at the end of the day, after the posturing for the cameras, they got together and they made the crap work. They had a genuine, actually a friendship. And it was like, okay, it's like, you know, you can imagine this kind of, okay, all this bluster, what do you really want? What can we do? That is gone.
We have stopped walking in other people's shoes. We've stopped seeing the opposing side, and we have stopped caring what the opposing side is.
They've grown so
and
far
what you're
apart,
talking
there's no
about
common
is
ground.
empathy.
Empathy, yeah. And what people have lost is unconditional love and unconditional forgiveness, which is the number one law of anything. And that's what they've lost, and that's why the good side is farther down and getting beat up more and more, because they believe in that unconditional love and unconditional thing, and they have a love for humanity, and the others don't care.
I can hear Joe Scanner.
So is the meek going to inherit the earth ever?
No.
By the time they do, it'll be a ball of dirt not worth living on.
There won't be an earth left by that time. Yeah. But let me... I'm going to end the politics with this. And I've said this the last year. When people start getting back to their own community and stop focusing on the politics, but get back to your neighbor, because it's your community that's going to take care of you. not the government,
That's exactly right.
not a political
That's
party.
Well, I don't even
but
think
your
a lot
neighbor.
of it is politics anymore. It doesn't matter. If you have an opinion, someone's going to fight you on it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
It has nothing. I mean, politics is part of it, but if you look at it, it's deep down. It's just I hate you and everything you have to say.
Right.
And it's not because one person's one political party or another political party. Some of it is that, but a lot of it isn't.
It's for whatever reason.
I think.
All right, so I got a question. How about that?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Why do you believe there are hotspots when it comes to the paranormal, guys? What causes them? Like,
Yeah,
why is
let's see.
there certain areas that aliens land more than others? Why are there certain areas that are more prone to spiritual activity, not just from ghosts, but from every entity?
So I think it depends. So with aliens, alien hotspots are usually because you look at volcanoes, for example. They draw fuel off volcanoes. The geothermal energy is what powers some of their craft. I think it has to do with natural resources for some of the races.
So we're just like an interstellar gas
Yeah,
station?
essentially. For some of them. Not all of them, but for some of them. When it comes to
I
spirit,
think sometimes it's old energies too.
I don't like that thought.
huh?
You know what, Francie? I kind of agree with that, but it's also got to do with the Earth itself. Its magnetic pole. It's the areas where these ley lines are running through, and the energy of Earth is pulling the stuff in, and they use that pathway. And I think that certain things are also in a way that the government's doing some weird stuff with cell phones towers.
Well,
I mean, I've witnessed it itself. It seems like they're almost like a beacon for a UFO on the 37th parallel.
But
and
here's what's
they're running right down the damn thing.
Here's what's interesting with ley lines. If you find a point where ley lines are crossed, is where you will find more Bigfoot, cryptid in general. You will find more spirit as well as UFO alien.
I've never looked at ley lines. Do we have one crossing in Washington?
Oh yeah, they cross all over. They cross all over the planet.
Okay, so
We have one here.
Do you think that there's, like, when I lived in Kentucky, I learned to dowse for ley lines.
Right, exactly.
Do you think there, and I haven't tried it since I moved back to Idaho. Are there more ley lines in Kentucky than other places, do you think, or are they equally available everywhere?
I think that there are certain areas that the ley lines are so pronounced, and I think Kentucky happens to be one of them.
I mean, they were everywhere.
Right, and they are. And you have to remember also you have the cave system and everything else. And you look at, David Pilatus' missing 411.
Right.
How many people go missing? All this stuff. And you look at his maps, and you can take the cave areas, and you take the areas that are like known as these hot spots, and you pull off all the cave areas, and then you put in all the missing people. And what do you see? You don't even see Kentucky and part of Tennessee at all in a map. You couldn't even tell it if it was. All you see is these little dots where all this stuff is happening.
Okay,
and it is that way. I mean,
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I got a weird question then about ley lines, okay? Because I don't know much about them. I honestly really don't. But could a ley line then be the form of travel, and where the ley lines cross would be a point of entry or exit?
You're talking about a portal.
Yeah.
And yes,
right.
So there are areas where they're strong, and there are many portals.
Right, but I'm talking like more like
Kentucky.
I would talk more like galactic highways, or what you would call like ferry transport. Okay, so they go through like
it's just stupid.
Right, like how they travel. Like it would be like our Interstate 5.
Right.
And you have
it's kind
so
of
many exits.
Yeah. Right, and it's the same thing of like why is there are opportunities to be in certain areas. If you look at UFO activity, They may follow a line, and those portals are closed at certain times. They'll be open in one area, and you'll see a lot of activity. And then later, 2 weeks from now, you'll see more activity in the Midwest. And then you'll see more activity in the South. And then you'll see more activity in the West. So, the portals only open at certain times, and they have to use those at that time. That's why they're in that area.
I also think it's seasonal.
Well, sticking with the analogy of roads, of like basically putting these out as roads and where they cross as exits, couldn't it be some form of like there was an accident on this and we had to close this exit for this time, or there is road work happening on this ley line, so we need to close these two. So they're popping out more often in one area than they are in another because that's the next detour.
Right, it could be, and that
a lot of the
sense.
cathedrals in churches in Great Britain are on ley lines.
Ley lines, right?
Well, what gets me about ley lines is when I first I wrote an article about ley lines years ago, and there was no mysticism about them. They were the paths that people took, and somehow it went from being, footpaths to it evolved into this, this esoteric power lines going across the earth.
Right.
But see, because it was the path that people took most often. Do you think that's what gave it its power? Is because so many people died along those lines, so many people had energy along those lines, that their essence is actually what made the ley lines.
Kind of like a thought form, making a tulpa, but manifesting as an energy.
Manifesting as an energy field because so many people use that pathway.
Did they follow Roman highways, Steph?
I think some of the Roman highways were built on them because they were the paths and the wagon carts that people used anyway.
Already there.
It's like a lot of the highways in Michigan were Indian trails. In fact, there used to be a bus company that was like Greyhound. They were called Indian Trails.
Right, so maybe the reason that they're so powerful is because so many people have put their heart, soul, or essence, or whatever you want to call it, into these roads, into these trails, and into these pathways.
Yeah. Well, let's take it back to, I'll use an analogy of, have you ever heard of the Coral Castle? I can't remember what Ed's last name was. But
Ed Leeds Skullman.
Yeah. Now, what he did was he searched the country for this certain area. He finds this area of energy, and he builds the Coral Castle on it, and it allows him to do certain things, and it's an amazing place if you've ever been there. And it's just bizarre what he was able to do, one man be able to do it. And he said he had the magic of the ancients, that's what he would claim. And if you're able to levitate a rock because of the energy there, or whatever you're doing, or whatever system you're using, and the hardest book I ever tried to read was his book on magnetism. And he wrote a fantastic book on magnetism, but you've got to be like out of your mind to be able to understand the damn thing.
So, do you think that might be what Tesla hooked into for the power?
Exactly, and it's the same thing if you believe in the pyramids being power stations, and using that, and it seems more and more that they are leaning towards that way, that they were some kind of energy outputs. Well, they were put in this area to be able to spread this power in this area and this area, and it makes logic. I mean, it's sense, because all they're doing is using the Earth's own magnetic field to be able to adapt and pull that stuff through.
Or do we think that maybe the Earth, well, everybody has differentiating opinions on this, but if the Earth is alive, right, if it's a living entity, Mother Earth or something of that nature, then wouldn't the ley lines in that case be like the synapses in our brains?
The central nervous system of the Gaia Earth theory.
Exactly.
Right, or the main bloodlines of Earth, and same thing. And I can concur with that. There's something that is definitely going on, and there is powerful and magical things happening over these certain areas. And you're going to find more portals and more different. And paranormal activity is just spiking through all that area, and it continues.
So I'm looking at a map. There are tons of maps. If you just search ley line maps, you'll find.
Oh yeah,
you'll find a whole bunch of them.
So it looks like there's just a convergence of like probably 15 or 20 ley lines around Banff.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's what cool is just filling up.
Okay, so Izzy put up in the chat room a map of the U.S. With the ley lines on it, and you can see a small amount of Canada up top, and there is a huge convergence zones near Calgary, Alberta. Now, I grew up an hour from Calgary, so there are energetic power spots in Alberta. And I should have looked at this years ago. I've been to most of these places and
I
never knew what I was looking Never knew what I was looking at. Like the Valley of the Ten Peaks, the Rumsey Medicine Wheel. So Rumsey has a population of like 50 people, and Buffalo Lake. And we've actually had some weird stuff as a family happen there. My brother and my dad got chased by a tornado on the lake, and they actually had to get to shore as quick as possible, and then they flipped the boat over to hide from the tornado. It's just a huge power spot, but it's a vortex energy area.
Now, Izzy's got a question too. Would a ley line be energized because it was traveled so much, or just noticed more because the path was most used? Other paths would also have the same energy, but because of not being used, it wouldn't be noticed. What do you guys think?
Or maybe maybe the Romans marched on them because they could go farther with more energy.
Well, it could be even. I mean, there's so many. I mean, there's different ley lines, and there's property that I know of that doesn't have any highways and has major ley lines in it. You've got to remember something, that there's areas that the people travel that were easy access, that were, they didn't cross the mountains. They came across this one way because it was an easier way to travel. So, so they blazed the trail and everyone else used that trail. I don't think it was actually conditioned to ley lines, but it was just made it more sense to use that highway to be able to get to point A to point B. And as one person blazed it, other people continue to use it and everything else. And yes, there is energy there, but if it goes across the ley line, it may have more paranormal activity than it would be.
Well, the overriding thing I came away with after writing that article is that ley lines were a New Age, basically a New Age invention. That the original guy who discovered ley lines and talked about them, there was nothing mystical about them, there was no energy about them, they were just simply paths that people took. Then somebody in the New Age community latched onto that idea and added mysticism and New Age theology to that initial, footpath.
Right.
And that's where the whole thing evolved.
Yeah, well, what's odd is that if you look at some of the areas around, okay, and you take the ancient mounds that have been around for 3,000 years or farther, and they have their own energy in their own way. And if you look at it as the crow flies, you can see that there's a straight line that goes between areas. And if you follow those ley lines, or you follow those lines, chances are you're going to also see paranormal activity between the two places somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are certain places in certain cities and certain towns and certain areas that are on a direct path between one of, just as a crow flies, if you draw a straight line. And I was doing a study for Octagon Hall. I was sitting at Octagon Hall. I was going, okay, I wonder what caused it to be so active. And I was looking at the Newark, Ohio hexagon, the Stake Mound, and that way. And I looked at Pinson Mound. And if I drew a straight line straight across it, Octagon Hall was right in the center. It crossed over where Octagon Hall's property was. If I did it the other way and used the other mounds that I knew, and it was in Indiana and everything else, and came across it, the same dang thing happened. It walked right across it to take a ruler and say, oh, look, these are all in a straight line. And guess what? That crossed right there also. And is that why we have so much paranormal activity there? Is that why there's vortexes? Is that why there's people see all kinds of different types of creatures there and all the other types of things? Possibly.
So I like Izzy's explanation in the chat room too. She said it earlier. She has two explanations. One is that there's natural energy there in that location. So, for example, concrete, the city where we live, where headquarters here is, was built on a crystal quarry.
Right.
Crystal, as we know,
Really?
and other minerals are magnifiers. Now, you have a disaster in the city. The city burnt down, I believe, in the 1900s. You have a lot of loss of life. You have natural disasters. We have two volcanoes here. We have earthquakes here, things of that nature. You're talking disasters and spirits stuck here. They're going to be magnified by those crystal quarries. That in itself is going to create a hot spot. You look at Northern State, another hot spot. A lot of people died there. It was a mental institute. You look at other mental institutes, they're going to be hot spots because a lot of people died. The older a location is, the more spirits you're going to have in that spot.
Exactly.
A major event happens there big enough to skew the energy permanently, then it isn't energetically neutral and draws in more activity. So I do like that explanation. If you do or don't believe in ley lines, ley lines haven't been scientifically proven. They're an interesting concept, and we have used them in the past.
It's the same thing here in Kentucky. We have geos everywhere.
Right.
You got geos up the gazoo. So I mean, and if you have a gigantic geode in a field, chances are, I would say that you're going to have more activity in that area. I mean, these geos are just amazing things. So.
Well,
they're magnifiers.
I've been trying to hold my tongue on this whole thing, and then Eric kind of brought it up. I'm a geologist. Eric brought it up. There's no scientific way to prove that there's a ley line somewhere or not, and it seems like every discussion I hear about any location, they say, "Oh, it's a ley line here, and there's a ley line there." It's like, well, show me how you measure a ley line. According to everybody I've ever seen in any of these shows I see on TV, there's ley lines just everywhere. Couldn't it just be that stuff happens everywhere? I mean, I don't see, as a scientist, I can't see, oh, here's a ley line between this line and that line. Well, there's something weird happens over there, and there's something weird happens there. You know what I found is that stuff happens weird almost everywhere.
Well,
and you can't necessarily say, well, it's on this line, or that's why this line is here. It's a mystical thing.
Yeah.
There's no way to measure a ley line. You can't say it runs from here to there. I've seen a million maps, and it's just people drawing lines on maps.
Yeah,
I said it was an invention of the
science thing, but I've got an open mind. But the ley lines, I'm not following it.
I have a question.
They evolved as there was a thing. They were paths, and the original book written about them. That's all they were. Then New Agers got a hold of it, and now all of a sudden this path is an energy, a vein of energy, or something mystical happened here, something mystical happened here, and they drew a line between them.
Okay,
there must be a ley line.
So you guys were talking about crystals and it, like, pulling more energies in and everything. So in Mexico, they have the world's largest crystal cave.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that's under hot
that's
water.
amazing.
Yeah. Now, is there more weird?
Oh, now you're talking
and
geology porn again.
unexplained-
You got to stop that.
Yeah. The way they had to
Is
investigate
there more
that was
unexplained
amazing.
stuff there?
Well, look at Roswell. Look at Dulce. Those are the only two I can actually, and those are both alien related.
Mm-hmm.
But
on your question earlier about why are there hot spots in certain areas,
right?
And everybody went to the ley lines and the portals. Couldn't it just be that the aliens think something's interesting going on there, and that's why it's a hot spot?
They just go and check it out.
Just keeping it simple.
Absolutely.
I don't think they're going, well, I don't want to go there, but the ley line's heading that way, and there's a portal there, so we're all going to show up there on next Thursday. Couldn't it just be like, hey, there's something weird happening over there, and they're going to go over and look at it and check it out?
Well,
Couldn't it be that simple?
First of all, I would look at the history. And then the two things, look at the history, look at the geology. And that's right down your lane.
Well, wouldn't that also be like, okay, so there's plenty of places that I go that not very many people go, and I do picnics or I do something there because I like that spot for whatever reason. So couldn't they just like that spot because of the way the trees moved or because of the way that this happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the ley lines are bunk, but when you look at like the mounds,
that's not bunk.
That's
historical.
People made these and invested some kind of energy into them. So I think with the mound builder culture, there is so little known about that. I mean, they found Michigan copper in Egypt, and they found Egyptian artifacts. I mean,
in Michigan.
Yeah, so it's like.
And just the fact that they put energy into these mounds is energy in and of itself.
So I think there's something to the mounds,
right?
Aliens.
But I think the ley lines are. I throw them in the same category as I throw crop circles. I haven't got a great deal of.
Well, it's interesting you bring up about the copper, and I did see a scientific study. We had a thing called the Bronze Age.
Right,
right. It was the copper and the bronze, and there were some scientists. They sat down, they crunched the numbers. There was not enough copper mined in Europe or the Middle East or even Northern Africa to account for all the copper and bronze they had. It had to come from somewhere else. Where? You hit it, Michigan.
Mm-hmm. And they proved that by studying the Michigan copper isotopic profile.
Exactly.
And it matched up to what they were finding in Egypt. So at one point, people were going back and forth, back and forth between Egypt and the United States.
And
when
on
it
that
became
note,
the United States.
I hate to cut you off, but we are out of time. Tonight's roundtable.
Another hour now. This is
yeah.
We wish we could, but we can't.
Tonight's roundtable flew. So thank you everyone for being here tonight, and stay tuned next week with pretty much the same panel, with the exception of Tony and Rosilla, potentially. I have to contact her yet. But anyway, y'all have a great night, a safe week, and remember, keep your eyes to the skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages. And contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.